developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works by focusing right in the GI tract to help control damaging inflammation and is clinically proven to begin helping many patients achieve both symptom relief as well as remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. While not reported with Entyvio, PML, a rare serious brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's medication isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
You're watching Nación ESPN, presented by Toyota.
All right, it's time for a little East Coast versus West Coast. We got a little game here.
See what we did here?
What's up? Bernie Osuna is here.
Call it a comeback.
Yes. right. All right, we're going to play a little game of East Coast versus West Coast. So that's the West Coast team because they're from the West Coast. And this is the East Coast team from the East Coast.
This is your dreams have come true. George and I are on the same side.
I know. El Taquero, first category. What do we got?
First one, more disappointing start in the season, the Giants or the Mets?
Since losing Madison Bumgarner to the DL last month, the last-place Giants have been on a downward spiral to the bottom of the NL West. The Mets, meanwhile, as we covered earlier, have been even worse. On Sunday, they lost to the Nats 23-5, and they currently sit in last place in the NL East. So, who's had the more disappointing start, the Giants or the Mets? What do you got, guys?
Disappointment.
I mean, look, I'm a Dodger fan. It's hard to defend the San Francisco Giants, but shall we try, Beto?
We should try. I'm going to go with the Giants because the Mets have so many injuries. Marley, you're around that squad a lot, and you see they're just devastated, right?
They're not devastated. Really? They have two major injuries.
Two big injuries.
Yeah, the Giants have some big ones, too.
MRIs are optional.
Exactly.
You get an MRI.
Everybody gets one, but I like the Giants' most disappointing stuff. But they always find a way. That team siempre hace algo.
Marley, clearly I think it's the Mets because, again, you're talking about a team who had championship aspirations for the last several years.
That's it.
And injuries have continued to derail them. Now they're batting, as we talked about. They can't hit worth a lick over the last couple of years. Everything seems to be falling apart at the exact same time. I still feel like the Giants are going to be in the mix. They're talking about Ryan Braun, maybe an addition there. I still think it's the Mets.
I agree with you, George, and I think that vote should go there, but not for the same reasons.
Okay.
I think that at this point, the Giants were never contenders, and the Mets were.
Wow.
Which means that this is more disappointing. So let's see the answer. You know what, Bernie?
We have 77
Come on.
wins.
Oh, you can do the next
The
one.
Mets, there we go. East Coast, what? Next one, Taquero. What do you got?
Go.
Better crop of young talent, the Yankees or my Dodgers?
The Yankees saw a crop of young
All of a sudden.
talent.
All of a sudden.
It's been making noise lately, the Yankees, with the Judge, Starlin Castro, and other youngsters have led the Bombers to the best record in baseball. But are the boys in blue more impressive? You have Urias, who just came back to the team, Puig, and the great Corey Seager trending upward. And currently the Dodgers are on a 4-game winning streak with that core of young players. So the better crop of young talent in MLB, Bernardo Osuna, the Yanks or the Dodgers?
See, I can go with the LA
Dale.
That's easy.
Come on.
Easy.
It's the 4-time Western Division champions. I mean, when you look at this foundation, even when you look at Clayton Kershaw, he's still under 30. Corey Seager, he was an MVP candidate and he was a Rookie of the Year. Julio Urias, we're still waiting to see just what they allow him to do. But
Still very
he's
young.
a great talent at just 20 years old.
Beto's boy.
I love that kid.
Yes.
You want to go get some Culichi Town right there? We're going with Urias. But he's 20. The core of the Dodgers' future, 25 or younger. Peterson, Seager, Urias, and Bellinger, who's now, 21? Adios, Adrian Gonzalez, because Bellinger's coming to get your spot. That's where the core is.
About
You got
time.
to look at.
Okay, now the reason the Yankees are the guy is because
This is a very simple conversation, George.
they basically have the American League version of Giancarlo Stanton in Aaron Judge. Let's start there.
Who has some Babe Ruth ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, they're right. Most home runs by a rookie in the first month of the season. They've got a number of guys in their farm system that
They
have
have
been big
Gleyber
contributors.
Torres.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really amazing.
And
They
they're
have
Dodgers
Yes, but the difference is very simple. So this conversation is going to end. I'm sorry, which one has the number-ranked farm system in Major League Baseball? The New York Yankees.
The Bombers.
You guys are not even in the top 15.
And prospects are meant to be traded.
Number one farm
prospect until
system.
you become a
They
suspect.
just got them. They're not going to trade them. They just got them.
That's because everybody's at home at 5 o'clock.
Right there.
Taquero.
More
More optimistic future in the NFL. New York or LA?
Oh, God.
Yikes.
For the first time in a long time,
I'm out of here.
Los Angeles is home to 2 NFL teams.
Yeah, and one team has Jared Goff with the Rams at the quarterback position.
Woo!
The other one is in Carson with
Put
the
some
Chargers.
respect on
But they
that.
got Phillip Rivers. Meanwhile, New York, Eli Manning leads that.
Eli who?
With the Jets, with the Giants. And of course, the Jets are still kind of trying to figure things out.
Oh, you
because
have
that's
to.
the most Jets thing ever. But anyway, who's more optimistic? Or who should you be more optimistic by? The New York teams or the Los Angeles teams?
Simply put, if it's not the Raiders in LA, it doesn't
Who cares,
matter,
right?
right?
It doesn't even matter.
But go ahead.
I'm going to go with your New York squad. Because there's better future.
You know, we're supposed to be defending the West Side. West Side.
Hey,
Come on,
don't
man.
you mentiras me pegan, right? What you can do is you realize that the Charger billboard I drove past in Carson today has, here, these guys are also playing, the guys that they drafted. I don't know anybody else who's excited for the Chargers in LA. They didn't want them here.
Yeah.
The Rams, they sold out
why they played
preseason.
on StubHub.
And the season, it was like, I can't even give my tickets away. And they're in LA. You have to perform. They're not performing. Take everything in New York. I don't even know who's on the teams in New York.
Bernie, are you going to give it up?
Man, they just don't even have a quarterback. We got bad quarterbacks.
We don't even know the quarterback's names in LA. We don't even want these
It's
guys.
easier. It's the Giants because they're the Giants, right? They're the best team of this entire bunch. So by default, it's got to be the New York team, at least for me.
We can't vote the same as them, Beto. We got to go for the winner.
Bernie,
man.
The Chargers actually will be pretty good. I think.
I think
We're playing a tough division.
You know what? You know what?
You
I
put the
can't believe that you
Chargers
have a
offense
vote
and the
anywhere near this.
defense.
Hey, you know what?
The Rams will be
Vegas
all
is
right.
west.
That's why I put it over here.
Raiders are in Vegas.
We'll kind of go with Raiders.
Raider-esque. Raider-esque.
The Raiders really should be the LA team.
Let's see the team that matters. There you go. All right.
Covered the Jets.
It's
There you go.
kind of crazy because
There we
we're all
go.
infighting.
Oh, wow.
He told you. Give me some. Give me some.
71%.
I can't give tickets away. I don't
What are
want
you guys
All right,
smoking out
let's go. Taquero, let's go to the next topic, please.
More desperate for success in the NBA? Mis Lakers or your Knicks?
I mean, talk about West Coast bias. The Los Angeles Lakers hope and dream flying the NBA lottery for what feels like the 10th year in a row or the 20th year in a row. Meanwhile, the Knicks continue to be the prime example of how not to run an NBA franchise. So which franchise is more desperate for success, Beto, in the NBA? Los Angelinos or Los Neoyorquinos?
Yeah, it's actually both.
Here we go.
The answer is yes. How about that? The answer is yes. Yes.
Desperate is not a word you want to use the Lakers because they have a future. They're bright. New York, that is a desperate situation that's just toxic everywhere. And if you talk to anybody, they always think the Knicks are going to be great. As Joey Tribbiani said on Friends, yeah, Knicks rule. Ben Lyons will tell you the Knicks are great. But Laker fans can actually see progress. Magic is here. The bus kid is gone. Mitch is gone. There's brightness. Desperate?
They're run by a woman.
We got Magic,
Come
baby.
on.
We got
They're run by a woman.
They're
That's
run by
what
a
we need right
family.
now.
They're run by a family.
They're run by one person.
Yeah, Knicks, get out of here.
We got a blue.
Because the people in New York are desperate for
Right. I mean, look, it's pretty obvious, and I would never pick the Knicks for anything, but they are clearly more desperate. I mean, Phil Jackson is basically begging Carmelo Anthony to get the hell out of there. I mean,
It's
But
Chacal.
you know, George, I was reading all these
Chacal.
conspiracy theories like this last week. I was reading these conspiracy theories about how maybe this is all behind the scenes and they're having a wonderful time on Twitter. I like it. I'm going to believe that.
Switch the vote.
No.
Porzingis left to
staying there.
Latvia without talking to
Let's
Phil
see the
Jackson.
vote right
That's
here.
all you need to know.
No saben leer.
We're a little
They
confused,
understood the question.
Nacion.
All right, last
Let's do
one.
the last one.
I'm offended by this question, eh? Burrito or Cuban sandwich? Better food? What are you guys talking about?
Okay, first of all, they don't need to do nothing. Okay.
There's a good
That's
Cuban
a better
sandwich.
Cuban sandwich than this crap we have here on this screen here. That's at least a real Cuban sandwich there.
That one is like a picture from Versalles, but look at this Cuban food. So it's an easy one. Cubanos from Miami, just delicious and perfect burritos from California.
What do we got, guys?
Like,
Hungry.
really? Like,
Look, when you look at versatility, the burrito can be everything. It can be your breakfast, it can be your lunch, it can be your entire dinner meal. I mean, a Cuban sandwich is a ham and cheese sandwich with some pork and then some butter on the bread, and then that's it.
You don't even know.
add some pickles.
Oh,
add
please,
some pickles.
do
That's
tell me
it.
the ingredients of the Cuban sandwich again.
I just
He obviously
tell you
doesn't know them.
The pork, the cheese, the bread, the ham,
Yeah, but that's a lame
it.
Cuban sandwich.
No,
That's
no,
not a real Cuban sandwich.
I like
You guys
Cuban
did a terrible
You
job.
know what? Give me some ropa vieja over the Cuban sandwich.
No. If we're debating sandwiches,
We're not because it's not a
No,
contest.
it is absolutely the Cuban sandwich because I think it has the same versatility. No, I can have a Cuban sandwich for
As
breakfast
the
or lunch or
one,
dinner.
as the one
But it's the same
vegetarian
thing. I
of
can
this
have a
group.
huevo por chorizo
I know.
in the
I
morning.
get it.
I can have carne asada in the afternoon.
It's
some
really very
chicken on
passionate
fries,
about this.
coffee.
Okay, So as the one vegetarian in this group, I'm not even going to vote. So we're just going to do this right here.
Easy!
Whatever.
Agree, wet burrito.
Home court advantage around here. There's no.
Here we go. It's time for a break, Jordan. What do we have when we come back?
Time for a break. You guys, thank you for stopping by.
A pleasure, fellas.
Next, we're talking some boxing. Bernie will still be back. When we come back, Joe Cortez and Bernie. Canelo and Chavez.
Anyone can say fresh, but Wendy's does fresh. Like the new fresh mozzarella chicken sandwich and salad, made with fresh chopped produce, freshly grilled chicken, and of course, fresh mozzarella cheese. So try Wendy's new fresh mozzarella chicken sandwich and salad today.
Heineken tastes perfect every single time, and that doesn't happen by accident. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster, almost as long as it took me to master this look.
She came to meet a man. She found an angel. What's his name now?
Still practicing. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster. There's more behind the star.
Meta Appetite Control. It's your glass of willpower that helps keep cravings far, far away. Feel less hungry with the natural fiber and clinically proven Meta Appetite Control from Metamucil.
I was wondering if an electric toothbrush really cleans better than a manual, and my hygienist says it does, but they're not all the same. Turns out they're really different. Who knew? I had no idea. So she said look for one that's shaped like a dental tool with a round brush head.
Go Pro with Oral-B. Oral-B's rounded brush head surrounds each tooth to gently remove more plaque. And Oral-B Cross-Action is clinically proven to remove more plaque than Sonicare Diamond Clean.
My mouth feels so clean. I'll only use an Oral-B.
The #1 brand used by dentists worldwide. Oral-B. Brush like a pro.
With flights getting so expensive, how do you find great deals anymore? Well, Priceline found a way with Express Deal Flights. We partner with top airlines to fill their unsold seats, saving you up to 40%. Just tap and go. Hey, Vegas. I saw this wild show in Vegas with my friend Diana. There were like acrobats and people on wires that... Oh, am I boring you? Hello? Flights up to 40% off. Check them out now at Priceline.
This Mother's Day, make sure you gift all the moms in your life. From working moms to Mr. Moms, Books.com can help. Save 20% and get free weekday delivery on our entire Mother's Day collection. For all the things we see Mom do and the millions of things we don't, there's Books. Just go to Books.com and use promo code MOMS to save 20% on our entire Mother's Day collection.
Look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see it clearer, or are you deceived? 'Cause I'm only human, after all. You're only human, after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me.
Start your Sunday with a story. E60, Sundays at 9 on ESPN.
Cooper tires on the ground, go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter. So count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
Tires on the ground, go round and round.
So we're saving the galaxy again? Awesome!
See that? How the Guardians of the Galaxy come together to be awesome? Guys, that's teamwork. Like cookies and brownies coming together to form Brookies and this Guardians Awesome Mix Blizzard. Okay, Jen, that's enough. Star-Lord's clean.
What?
Jen, we talked about this.
The new DQ Guardians Awesome Mix Blizzard, an awesome mix of Brookie Pieces, caramel, and Choco Chunks. See Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in theaters May 5th.
It's Fight Week in Nación ESPN, and we're preparing right here for the Canelo Chavez. But you know what? We brought the big guns right here. Hall of Fame, from the International Hall of Fame. Referee, he's our first Hall of Famer because we had Ivan Rodriguez, but he hasn't been inducted yet. So this is our Hall of Fame referee and our Hall of Fame announcer on the other side.
Joe Cortez.
He'll be there. And Bernie Osuna. We're talking a little Cinco de Mayo boxing right here. So let's see. How do we start, George?
Yeah, Marley, we start off by ranking the top Cinco de Mayo fights of all time. Number 5 is Pacquiao versus Mayweather. Broke the pay-per-view record with 4.4 million buys. Joe, any thoughts on this fight?
I'll tell you, it was a fight that the fans wanted to see because everybody wanted to see Mayweather get knocked out. He was not a fan favorite, but, he did it once again.
Número 4, Joe. Sorry to interrupt you. We got to hear those thoughts later. Pacquiao Marquez, la número 1. It was the first fight of the 4 they had between each other. And Joe Cortez was the referee. Bernie.
Yeah, if Joe Cortez stops the fight after the third knockdown of Juan Manuel Marquez, we would have had all those 4 fights and that great finish we got in number 4.
Yep, number 3, we've got Chavez versus Randall 2. It was a rematch of Chavez's first loss. That fight took place May 7th, 1994, Joe.
Joe, you were a kid. Tell me about that
Mills
fight.
Lane in there.
Well, that was Mills Lane, my colleague Mills Lane. It was a great fight. Chavez was upset, and they had the rematch, but Chavez got even with the rematch.
Número 2, Cotto versus Mayweather, my countryman. On 5 de Mayo 2012, Bernie, you were there.
Yeah, that was probably one of Floyd Mayweather's toughest fights against a still prime Miguel Angel Cotto, and just Floyd really shined that evening.
Number 1 was De La Hoya versus Mayweather in 2007. At the moment, it was the highest grossing pay-per-view until 2015 when we had Mayweather and Pacquiao, Joe.
Joe, tell us about that one.
Well, that was a great fight. I think they sold like 4.1 million buys, and De La Hoya took some good shots from Mayweather.
Yeah.
It was a great fight.
And I'd have to disagree with that ranking with number 1.
We didn't do it, by the way.
Corrales Castillo, one of the greatest fights in boxing history, took place in May of 2005. That should have been number 1. Boxing-wise, that was the best fight. Business-wise, I know why some of those.
Well, we're going business. So, Joe, let's go. What's your top Cinco de Mayo fight ever?
Which one is your favorite?
Well, I'll tell you, not because I was in it, but damn it, that damn Marquez and Pacquiao fight, that was a hell of a good fight.
You can say because I was in it, too.
Yeah, well, I was in it. I think it was a great fight. It was, Marquez went down 3 times in the first round. Any referee on this planet would have stopped it for the safety of the fighter, but he was still fresh. I saw he still had a lot left in him. I let it continue, and look what happened. Fight 2, 3, and 4. How many hundreds of millions did Marquez make?
It's like half of what George Sedano makes, I think.
What goes into I guess visualizing if a guy's got something left in the tank?
Well, you know what? It was the first round.
Right.
Okay? I know he came super prepared. They were flash knockdowns. But when he got hit the third time he went down, he got hit with a shot. He was like one glove on the canvas. He got hit a little bit, and Marcus looked at me like, come on, hey, Joe. He hit me when I was down with one glove on the canvas. When I saw his reaction, I said to myself, he's ready to continue. I let it continue.
All right,
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. We're on the eve of a pretty big fight this Saturday, and of course, these guys, they don't love each other.
Yeah.
Let's hear what they had to say to each other.
Cotto era el campeón.
But he beat Martinez, You think Martinez is a good fighter in this time?
¿Y Martínez qué?
Martinez is down after my fight. No, it lost with Martinez.
¿Es lo único que tienes, Martínez?
No, I fought the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4.
¿Pero quién
and the
es?
number 2
pueden haber números
world,
unos, pero ¿quiénes son? Pues, los ponen ahí.
Okay, you pick the names, okay, like Shane Mosley. Okay, you beat Shane Mosley, but what Shane Mosley you beat?
Cuando tenía 21 años.
What Maravilla.
Tengo 26 años. Y a los años que tengo nadie ha hecho lo que yo, pelear con los mejores del mundo.
And that was courtesy of HBO Sports. Our own Max Kellerman there, kind of just watching as everything was going
So you know
down.
what was happening there, guys? He was challenging him. So has Canelo fought the best in the world, Bernie?
When you look at the names and you see 3 Hall of Famers on his resume, you're going to say, wow, he lost to Mayweather. Wow, he beat Shane Mosley. Wow, he beat Miguel Angel Cotto. But it's who you beat and when you beat them. Did you beat LeBron James's Miami Heat, or did you beat Hassan Whiteside's Miami Heat? That's a big difference. So there's nothing to take away from what Canelo Alvarez has done, but he really has set up the fights where he is the A side and he controls the weight of his opponent. He controls everything in terms of how much they make. And so that's the one knock on Canelo Alvarez. You can't take away the victories from him. You also can't take away the loss against him.
All right, Joe, we gotta get through this as quickly as we can here. Is Canelo the biggest attraction in boxing right now, in your opinion?
He's one of the high up-and-coming fighters. He's definitely up on the top. He's young. He's charismatic. Good-looking. Everybody loves him. I think he has to fight a couple of top-notch fighters. If he gets over Chavez, that's a right step in the right direction. But he got to beat the top 2 or 3 top-name fighters out there to become a more popular household name.
Bernie, you and I have talked about this. Is he un campeón de papel? What do you think about
Paper champ.
Is he? Is he a paper champ?
Say he's a paper champion because he has beaten good fighters, but the Mexican fight fan in particular says, look, go out there and beat the best. And that's the one thing on level terms that he can't say that he has done. And so I think in that sense, he needs to prove it against Chavez first, and then he needs to face Gennady Golovkin, because what we saw with Anthony Joshua putting 90,000 fans at Wembley Stadium this past weekend in a heavyweight fight against Vladimir Klitschko, he can do that against Chavez in a rematch at Azteca Stadium or against Triple G at Jerry's World.
Yes. You're talking about those weird ones. George, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's we've been talking about the whole McGregor, Mayweather. Do you think this is good for boxing?
Well, you know what? A fighter that has 0 fights, amateur or professional, McGregor, going to fight pound for pound the best in the history of boxing with 49-0 record. I mean, I don't want to see a fighter get hurt seriously. I'm putting my referee hat on today. I watch out for the safety of the fighters. If I see this guy got 0 wins in boxing, not even 1 fight against the best in the world, I'm concerned about the guy with the 0 wins. Come on. You know, I don't want to see him get hurt. We're there for the safety of fighting, but I know this is a business, a big deal with MMA and boxing. The fans want to see this, but you know what? In reality, I want to see the man come home safe, back to his family.
I would say that it's great entertainment, especially the press conference. I would pay more for the press conference than for the actual fight. But the other thing is this. Floyd Mayweather wants to go down in history with the 50-0 record. That's going to be a huge asterisk if he goes in against, Conor McGregor. Because just like Conor McGregor, when we made look like a fool by Floyd Mayweather's boxing skill, just like he has against the best in the business, Floyd Mayweather would have no business in an octagon. So it's two very different sports. It's like softball and baseball. Are they similar? Yes. Are they the same? No way.
Sonó la campana. The bell has rung.
Prediction time on this weekend's fight. Who wins, Joe?
It's going to be a very tough fight for both fighters. They both are warriors. They're fighting for pride and honor. And you know what? I call it a split decision. I got to go with Chavez.
Oh, okay. There you go. Bernie?
Oh, Bernie.
I like to give my prediction after I see them on the scale. And this time it's going to be very important because Julio Cesar Chavez is going to be draining himself to make 164.5 pounds. When you look at the guy, and I'll be on stage with these guys, and you see what it took out of him, that's when you really know. From now, I would say Canelo should win in a very tough fight, because when you get 2 Mexican fighters, when you get 2 fighters who have so much pride in the ring, anything can happen. But that could change. If I see a Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. who didn't drain himself, who didn't leave it all on the scale, it could be for a spectacular night.
This is the first time we've had 2 Puerto Ricans on this side of the stage, so I'm sticking with Joe. Joe, do you want a rebuttal for Bernie there?
You know what? I say that Chavez is going to come in, let's say, at 164.5. Okay? But now you're going to put on maybe 15 to 20 pounds overnight. Can you imagine putting on a knapsack on your back the next day to fight with 20 pounds on your back?
That's it. He said
How slow is he going to be?
It's going to take a lot from you. Your legs
I
are
like
not going to
this.
be
It's
there.
going to get better.
I think it's going to be hard.
Yep,
George.
no question. Hall of Famer Joe Cortez.
George.
Bernardo Osuna. Prediction for me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be Canelo. It's easy.
Oh.
You can't get away without a prediction.
No, I already said it that I'm sticking with Joe.
Boricua.
Sticking with Joe. Let's go to Tomala.
All right, time for Tomala, presented by Toyota.
He stay on his feet is what I want.
This is amazing. Joshua with the mean uppercut to Klitschko. Joe, you saw a lot of those.
I'll tell you, I spoke to the referee this morning to congratulate him on a job well done. Look at Klitschko taking those hard blows. You know, some people are saying they were premature stoppage.
Oh!
When you get those kind of punches like that, you want to see the guy go home to his family. You want to see a good fight.
A good Tomala. Thank you, Joe.
250 pounds behind that
That's
uppercut.
it.
Joe, Bernie, thank you guys for stopping by.
See you in Vegas.
There you go. We'll see you in Vegas.
Cinco de Mayo in Vegas.
Yeah, quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Last Call next. You're on Nacion.
Nacion ESPN is presented by Toyota. Let's go places.
Canelo, be bold! Hey, Canelo. No bueno. Be bold. Hey.
Be bold.
No te pierdas Canelo vs. Chavez Jr. en vivo por pay-per-view. Tecate Light, born bold.
Wendy's Double Stack is still an option in the 4 for $4. With a quarter pound of fresh beef, that's a deal so good it should not exist. Like how owls shouldn't be able to turn their heads all the way around.
Whew, wouldn't like that deal.
The Double Stack and the 4 for $4. A deal so great, it's impossibly good. But not for long.
I love you, couch. You give us comfort, and we give you bare feet, back sweat, and Gordo's. Everything. I love you, but sometimes you stink. New Febreze Fabric Refresher with Odor Clear technology cleans away odors like never before. Because the things you love the most can stink. And plug in Febreze to keep your whole room fresh for up to 45 days. Breathe happy with new Febreze.
Winning the lottery? Hasn't changed us.
Because we can play all the new and classic games. And with GameFly, all our favorite games still come right to our mailbox.
Start your free trial at GameFly.com today. Now offering game streaming too. Product shown rated B3M.
Ready to do more, but work less? Meet the Works Aero Cart. It makes heavy things feel lighter than air. The secret is Aero Cart's breakthrough design. The wheels are right under the weight, so every load will instantly feel 4 times lighter. And forget this. With 2 wheels, Aero Cart has a super stable wheelbarrow. It's also a hand truck, personal forklift, rock mover, over 8 machines in one. Live less, do more. Get your Works Aero Cart today.
'Cause the world keeps spinning, life goes on and on. I won't cry for long, to still be winning. Things are going wrong. I turn on my favorite song, and that's my shoulder. That's my shoulders off. That's my shoulders off. That's my shoulders off. I don't worry about nothing, just dust it off.
Yikes. Is that your credit score?
Whoa, that's your score?
You know what? Yeah, my credit score's not so great, but it's a lot better than it used to be. And at least I'm actually doing something about it!
To be honest, I'm not even sure what my credit score is.
Try Credit Karma. It's free.
Get your free score right now at Credit Karma.
Credit Karma, that's a good app.
We helped you build it. Now let's protect it. The Ring Floodlight Cam, exclusively at the Home Depot. This is a security light that's not light on security, because this is now connected to this.
Dinner's ready.
See and speak to anyone on your property.
Can I help you?
Even sound an alarm.
Good morning.
Good morning.
With the Ring Floodlight Cam, you are always home. Check out the all-new Ring Floodlight Cam at the Home Depot.
The NBA playoffs continue Thursday on ESPN.
Catch the MLS action all weekend. Saturday on ESPN, it's Seattle versus Toronto. Then Sunday on FS1, it's Minnesota versus Sporting KC. Must Watch is brought to you by Gillette, the best a man can get.
All right, it's time for Must Watch, presented by Gillette. Marley, we've got some...
Your favorite, a little Champions League.
Yeah.
Right there. Don't miss the Champions League semifinals, Real Madrid versus Atletico and Monaco versus Juventus. Which one are you watching, George?
Real Madrid versus Atletico.
We're using the term must watch loosely.
Yes,
That's exactly
you can watch it.
Yeah, you can watch it,
Me?
not George.
All right, time for last one.
Now, Paul Pierce played in his last game in the NBA last night when the Clippers fell to the Utah Jazz. Pierce finished as a 10-time All-Star and 2008 NBA champion, and he had 26,397 points in his career. George, how will you remember the truth?
I remember him as one of the most clutch players of his era. I remember him as a guy who is, in my opinion, a top 5 Celtic. When you look at Russell, you look at Bird, you look at McHale, you look at Kuzi. To me, he's the next guy after that. I know there's a lot of old school Havlicek fans that'll be mad at me right now, but I put Paul Pierce in the top 5 all time with the Celtics.
He was fun to watch. That's what I'll say for watching a lot of East baseball. East Coast baseball wasn't that fun to watch.
Yeah, and the wheelchair. You always remember the wheelchair. Sorry, Paul. Time for breaking some ankles, Marley. T.Y. Hilton, my boy from Miami, plays for the Colts. His son, Eugene, showed us some of his moves on the field.
A little juking here.
You defenders out there.
I'd like
Juke them out of their shoes, Marley. That's a 4-year-old kid.
It's a little Miami fun. I like it. So that's it. Okay, don't miss the replay. Check your guides. We never know when it is.
Download the podcast on the Listen Tab of the ESPN app.
We'll see you next week. Hasta el lunes. Saludos.
I've never had dental problems, so this is new.
The sports writers who have had dental problems with us today. Also, the greatest baseball game in a little thing they call the history of baseball. A fight. No, that was a fight from back when fights were still fights. And whether this anthem singer in Edmonton made a case for no anthem singer ever again. Just have the people sing. Let's go around the horn. That's an all-time moment there. That's better than any anthem we sing. Can we sing the Canadian national anthem?
The show of competitive banter. Here's Tony Reale.
We'll get to that in a bit. Goodbye, Paul Pierce. Maybe so long, Blake Griffin. Chris Paul? Doc Rivers? Who knows? The Clippers, the Game 7 at home. Jazz doing what only 18% of teams did before them. Won Game 7 on the road. They won 3 games on the road in this series. Ramona Shelburne, maybe you'll consider that when I ask you if anywhere these Jazz can give the Warriors a problem. But first, these Clippers. What has to happen this offseason, and what can happen?
Well, look, they have got to keep all of their guys. I know we're all talking about should they blow it up, but in the way the NBA works right now, if you lose your guys, you're going right back to the Donald Sterling days when they couldn't even open the gym and practice because he didn't pay the rent there. I mean, that's how devastating it would be to lose even one of those players because they're up against the hard cap. If they keep them all together, it's something like $200 million payroll that they have going forward. But if they lose any of them, they don't have any flexibility and anything under the salary cap to replace them. And so, look, I mean, Tony, that is devastating as that is, it'd be like us doing the show. See, there's 4 of us in the box right there and you in the middle. Like, if Pablo just got up and walked out right now, I could run down the hall and see if Rachel Nichols would come sit in. She's got a show to... I mean,
well, now that you mentioned that might be game. If we can have Rachie on the show, let's do that. Let's do it. Well, funny you bring that up because we actually eliminate 2 people every middle of every show. I don't know where you're going with that, Shelburne. Let's bring in Israel Gutierrez.
Well, here's the fundamental problem about rebuilding or bringing back together these LA Clippers, because up until even the beginning of this year, there was still that thought, hey, if they're healthy and playing at their best, they can absolutely challenge the Warriors, despite the fact, regular season, they never challenged the Warriors, really. But now you're going into next year saying, even if you bring these same guys back, you're not going to have that belief. So it really just comes to what does that value, what does that cost to you, Chris Paul? Like, does it matter if you can still win make $200 million or make less than $200 million elsewhere, or make 200 plus with the Clippers, just to be another team that maybe will make it to the second round, because you know where your ceiling is. I mean, it must be so frustrating to know they need that wing player, right? And then you get beat by a Joe Johnson who's so late in his career, but he would have been great for you. It's just really frustrating in the Clippers. At some point, you have to let these guys go. And what can happen, Tony? They can all walk. That's not going to be their decision necessarily. All these 3 of those players can walk, so it's going to be tough.
I'll ask the same question to you, Kevin Blackstone. This offseason with the Clippers, what has to happen and what can happen?
Well, first of all, they have to take a deep breath and figure out what they want to do. On the one hand, they could look at this playoff series and say, oh, man, if Blake hadn't hurt that foot, maybe we would have gotten by. Of course, are they as good as the Warriors? Absolutely not. But then the other thing you might want to look at is going back to what Ramona was talking about and look at the assembly of this roster and the salaries and ask the question, who put that roster together? And if that's Doc Rivers, maybe you want to think about parting Doc Rivers from that front office role and get him back to just concentrating on doing what we know he does extremely well, and that's X's and O's and motivating guys to get over the top. I mean, he has won championships. Most of those players on that team have not. So that might be something you want to think about.
Okay. Pablo Torre, how about you?
Yeah, look at what happened to this team when Blake Griffin was gone. Chris Paul was solved. They didn't have anyone else to really step up and create offense. They trapped him. They figured out the high pick and roll. That's what spelled the Clippers' doom. But KB, I am 100% with you. Doc Rivers, the GM, is the guy who, even if you keep those three guys, bring them all back, bring Redick back. Doc Rivers, the GM, 5 years, 5 drafts, 0 notable picks of any kind. And in fact, going into this current draft, they're going to have 0 first-rounders because Doc traded away their first-rounder this year to get rid of Jared Dudley. Not to acquire Jared Dudley, to get rid of him. And the second-round draft pick is also gone because that's how they got Austin Rivers, his son, in part. Doc Rivers, the GM, has been disastrous. The coach, I can live with. Those big three, I can live with. But, man, get some other parts that can maybe create offense when 1 or 2 of those guys are out.
Ramona, point blank, is this something Steve Ballmer's considering, removing the GM duties from Doc?
Yeah, he has to. Look, he took over, and there was no way that he couldn't lock Doc Rivers up immediately after the way he carried him through the Donald Sterling scandal. And Steve Ballmer, to his credit, says, I don't know basketball. I'm going to find a guy who does. But, KB, you talk about he's won championships. No, he won a championship in Boston. Like, he doesn't have that. He hasn't done this in multiple places. And I think they've been listening for him for 5 years, and this group has not come together. I think at some point, you talk about replacing him in the front office, but is he going to tolerate somebody once he's had the power? Now it's taken away. I think they've got some existential issues in the front office.
You've just spent a lot of time on the Clippers. You got to give some time to the Jazz here. Israel Gutierrez. Where can they give the Warriors problems? Look at your faces. You're looking at me like I got 6 heads here. Where can they give Golden State problems?
Maybe give them some problems if Rudy Gobert feels good and is healthy on switches because he actually can defend those guards. He's that long and can move pretty well. They do have long, lanky, wing players that have. Gordon Hayward put up superstar numbers in that first round when he wasn't suffering from food poisoning. So they can do those. It's just that the Warriors are just better at it. Like whatever they offer, they have an answer for it. So they can give you some trouble, but not enough.
Kevin, you like Jazz. Go ahead.
I do like Jazz. And you know what? I like the Jazz going into this, not to win it, but they are the only team that have laid a loss on the Warriors since, I think, March 12th. So they got something to hang their hats on. The other thing is they play extremely good defense, third best defense efficiency in the league. And not only that, you know what they're going to do? They're going to slow the game down.
3 words
like
of
that.
fuel, Ramona.
Slow it really down. So that'll be good for
I don't think Steve Kerr is going to be coaching in this series. And so if there is anything that could get dicey, you got Mike Brown in there, and he's never been in that spot.
All right, we'll move on. Let's talk the next game, all right? Celtics. Wizards. Knocked out teeth, stepping on your opponent's loose shoes so he can't put it back on. This is going to be a series. Boston coming back from 16-0 to win by 12 and to score 123. Israel Gutierrez, what did the Celtics show you in that comeback win?
Well, they showed me they could take advantage of a weak defense, and for stretches, the Wizards can play pretty poor defense, and it was particularly in that second and third quarter. I mean, you go up 16-0 and then give it away like that, you've got some defensive problems, and you look at back, like Isaiah Thomas can do that any single game, 33 points. Just look at what Dennis Schroeder did to the Wizards. I mean, he had big games, especially as that series went along, so they're going to have to really tighten that defense up, otherwise Isaiah Thomas will eat you up.
Kevin Blackstone?
What it shows me is if they have a chance to play small ball against the Wizards, they're going to win this series. And they got a chance to play that when Markieff Morris went down on Al Horford's foot and twisted his ankle, which changed the whole dynamic on the glass. All of a sudden, the Celtics could go to the boards. And it also changed things because Otto Porter went from playing outside to having to play down on the floor where he's undersized. So that is what really turned this thing around. And if Markieff Morris can play again, I think we'll have a balanced game.
Pablo Torre?
There have been about 10,000 games over the last 10 years. And of those games, teams that started down 16-0 have come back to win exactly once in the regular season. This is the first time it's ever happened in the postseason over the last decade. And the reason why, and yes, Isaiah Thomas, incredible. Everything people say about him doing this at this point in his life amid all this tragedy is absolutely deserved. But the real reason, the Celtics were 19 of 39 from 3. That is the franchise record for the Boston Celtics. That's a very long time. 49%. If you can do that, you will have a chance in this series, but I don't think they can.
Great stats from Pablo. I think Rachel would have had those. Rachel Nichols.
She would not. She absolutely would not have. How dare you, Super?
Go ahead, Ramona.
Well, like, teams that win game one of a 7-game series go on to win 76% of the time. If you're the Wizards and you've been looking to break through in a postseason, they had them. Like, you had them on the ropes, and there was an early game where Boston had trouble waking up. Like, you had them right where you want them. That was a chance for them to take a step forward and put Boston on the defensive, and they couldn't do it.
It's an early game for everybody. 40 hours, basically, from the Game 6 turnaround. Yes or no? Was that fair for the league to schedule a Game 1 at 1 in the afternoon for teams that just played?
It's not about fairness.
It's not about fairness. Yeah.
The NBA.
Suboptimal.
Basketball.
We'll move on. The Spurs and Rockets played 3 games to 2 points this year. It's going to be a whole lot of offense and emotion versus a whole lot of defense. And a different brand of emotion. Kevin Blackistone, would you rather be Kawhi in San Antonio or Harden in Houston?
You know what? Right now, I think I'd rather be Harden in Houston because I feel like after what we saw in the Spurs' first series that Harden has a little bit more help than Kawhi has when he looks over his shoulder. I mean, his best players have gotten older, and some of the other ones haven't necessarily stepped up, and he's been having to shoulder the load. Harden, as much as we've talked about those triple-doubles and all the scoring and all the assists, he's making those assists to people who are making plays. So I'd feel better about being Harden.
Israel, while Kevin was answering there, you seem to be a little bit intrigued. You can go.
Yeah, I think Harden does have more help, it seems like, but it feels like he needs it more right now because he doesn't look healthy, and he's not really looking like James Harden. The other problem is I'd rather be Kawhi and the Spurs because what does James Harden rely on so much? Fouls. He relies on getting fouled and going to the foul line. What do the Spurs do very well? They defend without fouling, and if you've got one guy in the league that you can put in front of James Harden and say, okay, I'm not going to reach, I'm still going to stop you, it's Kawhi Leonard, so I'd rather be Kawhi.
Pablo Torre?
The issue, though, is that it's not necessarily going to be Kawhi in front of James Harden on all these possessions. One of the interesting things that's going to happen is the Rockets are going to try and pick and roll the Spurs to death, meaning James Harden is trying to pick up a big on that switch, meaning he's going to be dealing with the following people, given that Dwayne Dedmon, their defensive star, the Spurs' newfound defensive star, is out. He's going to be attacking David Lee, he's going to be attacking LaMarcus Aldridge, and he's going to be attacking, who else? Who's the third guy? Yeah, it doesn't really matter because David Lee is the guy they're starting for the San Antonio Spurs at center. That is a bad
Ramona, do you have any answers to some of the questions that Pablo's thrown out there?
Yeah, the third guy would be Pau Gasol, but he hasn't played defense in 5 years. But, you know, look, I think, look, I'd rather be Kawhi Leonard because he's going to be the one who can stop James Harden. He's the one who's defending that pick and roll, Pablo. And, Andre Robertson tried to do that in the last series. He did it very well once he had Taj Gibson to come out and play that switch with him. I think this all comes down to pace, though. If the Spurs keep them at their pace, they're winning this series. If Houston can get out and run and make San Antonio and the old guys have to tire out, it'll be an interesting series.
You guys aren't going to mute yourselves for picks you make, so let's give me some ammo here. Team that wins in how many games, Israel Gutierrez?
Spurs in 6.
Blackstone?
Houston over the distance.
Torrey?
Rockets in 7.
Shelburne?
Spurs in 7. Spurs in 7.
Okay. Here we go. We're taking a break right here. Buy or sell next. Rest of the weekend in sports. Stick around.
Around the Horn is brought to you by Sprint. Switch and save today. Visit sprint.com/unlimited.
The Steakhouse King has it all. It's got a half pound of beef, crispy bacon, steak sauce. It's like you hit the jackpot.
Cha-ching!
A half pound of beef, steakhouse sauce, bacon, and crispy onions. Try the new Steakhouse King or the Bacon King, only at Burger King.
When it's between the baby-soothing power of a Duracell C-Cell and the tips on how to calm a baby from your mother-in-law that always seem to involve a fair amount of brandy, go with C-Cell. That's not just some battery. That's a Duracell battery. That's a power you can trust.
Well, I love it. This piece is so you. I know, right? I saw it and I was just like, oh, I have to have it. Is it suede? It's suede. Love suede.
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments, there's one of these.
Well, I love it. This piece is so you.
I know, right? I saw it and I was like, have to have it.
Is it suede?
It's suede.
I love suede.
That's why we're there with renter's insurance when things go wrong, but also here with a rewards credit card to help life go right. State Farm.
So, Amara, you're a Verizon engineer. Tell me, what's one really good reason why the Samsung Galaxy S8 is better on Verizon?
Well, we have the largest 4G LTE network in America.
Yeah, that's a pretty good reason.
And the most reliable. And with unlimited, you get full HD video.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's 2, maybe even 3 reasons right there.
It's exactly 3.
Okay, sure, whatever you say.
If you really, really want the best, switch to Verizon Unlimited and get the Galaxy S8 for just $15 a month.
I saw you take those phones, you know.
No, you didn't.
At Zales, we believe in a diamond kind of love. The kind of love that begins unconditionally, then grows even deeper over time. The kind of love that could only come from mom. Right now at Zales, save 30% off an amazing selection store-wide for Mother's Day. And celebrate mom with a gift whose meaning goes beyond just one day. A gift that will last for generations. Zales, the Diamond Store.
Take a look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see it clearer, or are you deceived? 'Cause I'm only human, after all. You're only human, after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. Start your Sunday with a story. E60, Sundays at 9 on ESPN.
I believe computers are important in design, but it's the human touch that creates design with a feeling, creating a form that appeals to your heart.
Why are we so passionate about perfecting designs by hand? Because driving matters. Introducing the all-new Mazda CX-5.
When it's between the baby-soothing power of a Duracell C-Cell and the tips on how to calm a baby from your mother-in-law that always seem to involve a fair amount of brandy, go with C-Cell. That's not just some battery. That's a Duracell battery. That's a power you can trust.
I'm Invests. And as a vested investor invests, I invest with E-Trade, where investors can investigate and invest. Invests. Or not invests.
This is my retirement. Retiring retired tires, and I never get tired of it. Are you entirely prepared to retire? Plan your never-tiring, retired tires retirement with E-Trade.
At Burger King, every day is deal day with the King Savings Menu. Get 3 fluffy pancakes for 89 cents, 2 flame grilled cheeseburger meal for $3.29, or 10 golden nuggets for $1.49. The King Savings Menu. All day, every day. Only at Burger King.
The NBA playoffs continue Thursday on ESPN.
Buy or sell. The Nats did to the Mets yesterday. What Anthony Rendon did to the Mets yesterday, and what the Mets are doing to themselves. It was 23-5. You saw that. Rendon was 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, joining the immortal Walker Cooper, 1949, for best game ever. But today, Noah Syndergaard going on the DL. Friday, he said no to an MRI from the team, and then partially tore his lat yesterday. The MRI was on a different body part, by the way. So another Met on the DL. What you buying? What you selling, Momo?
Yeah, that doesn't look good for Syndergaard there, and that lat injury is partially torn. It's going to keep him out a couple of months. He has such a violent motion. He reminds me a little of Tim Lincecum. Maybe not that violent, but on that same track. And like anything with a pitcher like that who throws that hard, you got to be so careful.
What are we thinking though? Because he said no. I know my body. I don't need to get in the MRI tube. Israel, what are we thinking when he gets hurt 2 days later to a different body part? Because again, that was his elbow and this was his lat. But what's that
connected?
About?
I'm thinking he and his body need to have some counseling because they're not as close as they think they are. I also think it's very stubborn on April 30th or April 29th or whenever the decision was made to say, no, I'm good, let me fight through this, when you're struggling as a team as it is, bottom of your division, and you've got the entire season ahead of you. This was a mistake by Syndergaard.
Can the Mets allow that? Allow a player to say no to an MRI, Kevin Blackstone, especially after all the injury problems they've had just in the last week with Cespedes?
Apparently they did let that happen. I don't understand why. And, Syndergaard, this is really on him. He owes the Mets an apology. He owes his teammates and his fans an apology. You've got to look out for yourself. If we're gonna go after somebody like Bumgarner for doing what he did on an off day and hurting himself, we got to go after this guy for not taking care of his body.
I actually don't know if it's on Syndergaard, though, because if a pitcher has this weird superstition about not wanting to know what's wrong with his body, like, you might have to take that. Pitchers are weird dudes, but if you're the team, this is a risk insurance policy in terms of public relations. Now you're the team that just let him not get an MRI when just having the MRI would have fortified you against all the criticism we've all said on this show. Just a terrible oversight.
After starting Harvey, when he wasn't expecting to start, he left the game with a hamstring. After we saw Cespedes, he was injured for a week before he really had to come out of a game. Those Mets didn't go crazy. Those Mets
can't have nice
Mets.
things.
We'll move on. The anthem singer in Edmonton. I love this. I'm going to say it again. You got an entire arena of Canadians to sing the U.S. national anthem. Why have any singers anymore? Let's just let fans sing in every arena. That was great. What's not great is how the Rangers and Capitals have looked. Great if you're a Senators or Penguins fan. For the Capitals, Trotz says he's sticking with Holtby in net. Quote, why would you think otherwise? End quote. Your team's down 0-2. Kevin, are you thinking otherwise?
You know, I'm thinking otherwise. I'm trying to put that out of my mind. I'm trying to look at statistics like Puck Luck, which show that the Capitals actually should be winning this thing 9-4, and instead are down 6-2.
Wait. What are they supposed to be winning it according to Puck Luck? 9 to what?
9-4. Seriously. Look it up.
Okay, that may be true. That might be a bigger problem than Kevin Blackistone. If they're down 0-2 and they should be up 9-4. Same is probably true, then maybe I should look at Puck Luck for the Rangers because they've lost 2 games they should have won. Tori, where are you on this?
I feel like I should know what Puck Luck is, but I feel like that needs to be rebranded because it sounds ridiculous every time it's said out loud. What I would point out, though, is that you can keep Braden Holtby on a short leash, but you start him, KB, because to do otherwise would to be creating a whole other news cycle, let alone what it does to the confidence of that guy going forward, especially if he is, in fact, your starting goaltender for longer than just this year.
Stubborn.
Look, he won the Vezina Trophy last year. I mean, this is your goal. This is the guy who brought you. You gotta stick with this guy because once you start talking about replacing him, it's already over. Once you replace him once, it's already over. They got a long way to go in these playoffs. Hopefully, if they can get this turned around, you gotta have some confidence.
If you can ride a hot goalie deep into the playoffs, you should easily be able to discard an ice-cold goalie. And while he did have a good regular season, of goalies in these playoffs who have played 5 or more games, he's 13th of 14 in save percentage. So, yeah, go ahead and make the move.
Getting a win tonight, Washington? How about you, Kev? Come on.
Yes.
Make a pick. Yes. Oh, you said it.
Yes.
Well, they should be up 9-4. So
exactly.
I'm not with you, Pablo. I love Puck Luck. I love any hockey analytics on this show. Blackistone
PDO,
bringing up PDO, SPSB percentage. That's how you do it, Stone. Buy yourself 3. Anthony Joshua, Vladimir Klitschko, which you may not have been fully aware of, but if you don't know now, you know. Incredible fight. Klitschko dropping Joshua. Hayden Panettiere loved it. Joshua in an uppercut that stopped Klitschko for time and stopped time as well. You'll see that right here. Joshua retained the IBF belt, adding WBA. His promoter called him the biggest star in world boxing. What you buying? What you selling, Pablo?
I'm buying that this guy gives us the cinematic ideal of a heavyweight fighter. No, he's not American, which is a strike against him in these shores, but he looks exactly like what Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather did not. He looks like a Rocky type of figure, and that is somebody you can market and sell, and plus we love uppercuts. Uppercuts are great.
Yeah, look, in combat sports right now, Conor McGregor had been the lead dog for the last couple of years, but he's not fighting right now. And Cody Garbrandt, I mean, he had a nice fight, but he hasn't been built up. This sport, and this, not just boxing, but combat sports, they're right, they want another star. And if you can get a heavyweight champion like this, charismatic, great personality, get the shot there at Wembley Stadium,
Gutierrez?
He can be a star.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that the UFC needs a pickup, too, with Conor McGregor looking to fight elsewhere as well, fight Floyd Mayweather. I think Joshua could be that guy. He needs some competition, though. It can't just be him sort of running over people. I mean, obviously, beating 41-year-old Klitschko is okay, but it's not over-the-top great. You can't say this guy's going to be super.
Thank you. 41-year-old Klitschko. I wasn't even sure which Klitschko that was. He was so open for uppercuts. He looked like 7-Eleven at 3 o'clock in the morning. Come on. I'm getting excited about that.
Man, what type of weekend did you have, Blackistone? Shelburne Blackistone's going to be our showdown. Gutierrez story. Good one today. But we'll say goodbye. Momo and the Stone. Next.
Cannonball. Don't.
Not again. Swan Drive. Seen it, covered it. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
It's obvious they were meant for each other. Always side by side, but never together.
forever trapped in the friend zone. Until finally, they got together at Taco Bell.
Check it out.
I'm talking about the taco and burrito. Double the seasoned beef, fresh lettuce and tomatoes, shredded cheese, and crunchy chips. The new loaded taco burrito, just $1.49, only at Taco Bell.
Hi, I'm Paul. I switched to Sprint because all networks are great. We're talking within a 1% difference in reliability of each other. With Sprint's unlimited plan and my amazing iPhone 7, I've got all the data I need to learn the things I want to do. Fourth video today. Good thing I don't have to worry about overages.
Unlimited. $30 per month per line for 4 lines. And now, for a limited time, your 5th line is free. Even better, get the awesome iPhone 7 on us. And with iPhone Forever, you can upgrade to the latest iPhone every year.
I wrote you a love note without writing a single word.
This Mother's Day, create a gift from the heart that could only come from the Pandora Boutique at Jared. A world of Pandora, including exclusive pieces designed just for Jared. Ready to be mixed, matched, and stacked with help from Jared's own Pandora expert. The one gift that speaks volumes you'll both treasure forever. That's why he went to Jared.
There's nothing more important to me than my vacation. So when I need to book a hotel room, I want someone that makes it easy to find what I want. Booking.com gets it. They offer free cancellation if my plans change.
Visit Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
This is the Dyson V8 cord-free vacuum, and this is its Dyson digital motor, generating powerful suction to deep clean carpets, hard floors, clean up high, and convert to a handheld, to dig deep on stairs, furniture, mattresses, and cars, all with up to 40 minutes runtime.
Try Dyson V8 at home with a 90-day money-back guarantee.
At Holiday Inn Express, we don't just get you ready, we get you the readiest. To prove it, we took Dennis, who's here for a convention, and put him in a nationally televised dance competition.
Huh? Holiday Inn Express. Be the readiest.
Catch the MLS action all weekend. Saturday on ESPN, it's Seattle versus Toronto. Then Sunday on FS1, it's Minnesota versus Sporting.
Function to your home with help from Menards. Indoor-outdoor carpet is great for basements, sunrooms, or decks. Status carpet comes in 4 styles, 33 cents a square foot. City block carpet comes in 2 styles, 49 cents a square foot. Clean up messes with Black & Decker. This 16-volt lithium-ion hand vac can hold a charge for up to 18 months, $49.99. Reach tight spaces with this 20-volt lithium-ion pivot vac, $69.99. Now during Menards Spring Catalog Sale.
Save big money at Menards.
Look at me wearing hats everywhere we went. I wore a baseball cap every day.
Stop hiding your bald head under that hat. Get to Yates Hair Science in Chicago for breakthrough robotic hair restoration technology that can help you get your own natural hair back and hang up your hat forever.
I'm more confident. It's a no-brainer.
A game changer. You should definitely do it. I don't have to wear hats anymore.
Call or go online to DrYatesHairScience.com to see the robot and the results. Hats off to getting your natural hair back from Yates Hair Science. Call now.
Chris Haynes, ESPN.com, has Warrior players who told him they wanted the Clippers, not the Jazz in round 2 because there's no nightlife in Utah. Never been to a club in Utah, Kevin Durant said. The vibe is just like, man, let's just get out of here. Andre Iguodala. Ramona Shelburne, I asked you 25 minutes ago how this could be a series. Did this just become a series?
This just became a series. I mean, I was so excited about the Baron Davis dunking over Andrei Kirilenko highlights. That's all I could sell this series as. But this now is really, this is going to be fun every day, day in and day out.
It's over now. I mean, you go dissing another NBA player's city, Utah, Salt Lake City. Come on, there are clubs up there. I've been to a club with Jay Adonde and Mike Wilbon before. They got a place there called the Urban Lounge.
I've heard this story before, and I just picture Wilbon walking into the club. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Boys, we'll move on. You're more surprised than LeVar Ball talked his boys out of a shoe deal or that Chino Hills is looking for a new coach. Let's do an odds maker on that, KB. Chances LeVar Ball didn't have Chino Hills coach relieved of his duties.
Oh, you mean the guy who ripped his son's team's coach right after they lost in the playoffs and said he could have done a better job and what he wasn't doing right with the offense? Of course he got it. Of course he got him fired. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, look, what's that show you guys got down in Miami? Highly questionable. I mean, that is like LeVar Ball absolutely had something to do with that. I mean, I've actually spent time with them and the family. And
were you throwing shade at Le Batard and Bomani, and more importantly, Poppy? What's that show you have in Miami? Highly questionable move from Shelburne. Blackstone, big time.
Oh, man, so we said goodbye once again to Paul Pierce the other day, one of the greatest scorers we've seen in the league, a guy who looks today like he did when he came into the league 2 decades ago with that pump fake and gets everybody out. But you know what I'll always remember about Paul Pierce? Everybody remembered the game winner in the playoffs, Game 3 for the Wizards. Remember that? Boom! That's the way I always remember him. He came into Joe Stonecraft afterwards. I was sitting in there having dinner. The whole place stood up. And
we're not remembering Paul Pierce as a wizard.
Wizard Pierce.
Truth, up fakes, and the step back way. Let's all clip art a wheelchair Paul Pierce's way. Huh? Let's do that. That's how we should remember.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, Ryan Seacrest is Kelly Ripa's new co-host. Didn't you want that job?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. I was so close, but then security tackled me backstage.
So you should have had your own bodyguards, and they could have fought with the security guards there, and you'd have been in.
I have to tell you this. I always wanted to do that show, even when Regis was doing that show. I think that show is so much fun, and I would love to have done it with Regis or Kelly. Wouldn't you like to do that show, Mike? And it's a great show.
I like to watch that show. That's what I like.
Great show. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Celtics are up, the Capitals are down, and Vladimir Klitschko is out. But we begin today with the Los Angeles Clippers again losing a playoff series after leading it. This is 5 straight years the Clippers have gone out this way. This time it was to the Utah Jazz, which had not advanced in the playoffs since 2010. Wilbon, you were in Los Angeles for this game. What on earth should the Clippers do now?
Well, Tony, that's the number one sports question here in Southern California last night after this game and this morning. And there are, of course, all kinds of opinions. I don't see the purpose in bringing these guys all back together. First of all, it costs a hell of a lot of money, even though Steve Ballmer has it. I mean, he has the $100 million in luxury tax money that he'd have to pay. But my point is, I know they've been injured. I mean, some of this has been beyond their control, that Chris Paul and Blake Griffin have been injured together sometimes so frequently, and it's prevented this team from maxing out. But, Tony, we've also seen them enough for me to think, why would you bring them back? And they have control over this two-tone because they're free agents. Chris Paul, who I would keep. Chris Paul, who I would keep. No, yeah. you can frown if you want.
I do.
You don't like Chris Paul.
No, I don't.
Chris Paul's a
I think he's
great
overrated.
point guard. He's a clutch point guard. He's beaten big teams in the playoffs. He's beaten big teams. He's better than a lot of guys you think are better.
Hold on a second. I think they're the most overrated team in the NBA. And I think that Chris Paul is overrated. I'm not going to say that there aren't 25 teams in the league that would throw over their guy to have him.
That's my point.
And I understand that. But also in the last 3 quarters of a home playoff game with everything on the line, he was 2 for 12. I mean, you've got to be better than that. The Clippers missed it. They just missed it. It's not
So what would you
happen.
do? What would you do? Don't regurgitate. Tell me what you would do.
If I were the Lakers, I would try and get better quicker because I'm more important to that area and more important to the league than the Clippers are. This happened with the Nets when they were in New Jersey and they were making the finals. And nobody cared in that area because it was a Knicks city. And the Lakers are the biggest team there. I would certainly I would try to trade Blake Griffin. If Chris Paul wanted to come back because he's a very good point guard, albeit I think he's a bit overrated, I would certainly take him back. But they've missed it, Mike. Chris Paul has never been to a conference final. That's Tracy McGrady land now.
Tony, they've missed it together. You're right about that.
Yeah.
They've missed it, and that's why I wouldn't bring everybody back. But you might have to sign them so that you can trade them because you're capped out.
I'll tell you something else. If Doc Rivers hadn't come from Boston with all that goodwill and all that good work, people would be screaming to get rid of him now. They would.
Tony, the GM, Doc Rivers, we don't know what the fate of that's going to be. I still think the coach has the respect of that team, but I would not bring all those guys back, and neither would you. We agree on that.
No, I would not.
Let's move a little closer to home for you and me. It looked pretty good for the Wizards when they were up 16-0 to start Game 1 in Boston. But the Celtics, once again, rallied around Isaiah Thomas, and this time in an extraordinary way. Just hours after attending his sister's funeral, Thomas flew back across the country to Boston, lost a tooth, had that knocked out, scored 33 points, and led the Celtics. So, Tony, what are you taking away from Game 1?
I'm going to take away primarily that it's Game 1, and then in a 7-game series, Game 1 is the least important, least predictive of all of the games. The Wizards could easily come back, win 3 in a row, and have a commanding lead in the series. But there were 2 things that happened that have to trouble them. One was at point guard, where John Wall needed 20 shots to get 20 points and committed 8 turnovers, while Isaiah Thomas needed 23 shots to get 33 points and had 2 turnovers. So that was not good in Game 1. The second thing was they allowed 99 points in the last 3 quarters, Mike.
Yeah.
That's pace for 132. You cannot win. Paul Westhead no longer coaching in this league. You can't win if you give up that kind of points. That was bad.
Tony, I agree. The second part I think is the most important part is the 99 points. John Wall's going to play better. We just saw the Wizards get blown out in Atlanta, and people were saying, oh, this is going 7. No, it isn't, because the Wizards can bounce back from that. Boston's not going to hit every 3-pointer it takes in Game 2. I expect this series to be 1-1. You're right. It's the least predictive, and you have plenty of time to figure out what it is you need to do. In John Wall's case, it's simply play better.
Yeah.
But, Tony, I think that the remarkable thing is Isaiah Thomas yesterday. When you saw him walk into the arena, if you happen to be watching and the cameras are on him, he was just, as he has said, and I talked to him several times in person last week, and there were a couple of times, Tony, where he said, I'm just not here. I'm not here emotionally and mentally. And physically, it just looked like, oh, my God, how's he going to do this? And he summons this.
He did it.
It's one of the unbelievable stories.
Yeah.
This is not like burying your mother or father or your uncle or your grandparent or somebody who in the cycle of life you expect to live beyond. This is your baby sister. I think this is an underplayed story in these playoffs, Isaiah Thomas's performance.
The Boston Celtics need him to be great every single game because he's their only great player. The Wizards have 2 very, very good players in Wall and Beal. And by the way, Kelly Oubre, at the moment, through the playoffs so far, minus 80 in the plus-minus.
That's not good.
Minus 80.
That's not. He was good in the first quarter, and then not so much.
Minus 80.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Cavaliers resume play tonight after what seems like a month off. They will host Toronto, which needed 6 games to get rid of Milwaukee. And there's also a game in the West between San Antonio and Houston, the number 2 and number 3 teams in the entire league. Wilbon, which one of these series is more likely to result in an upset?
Well, Tony, I don't see the Cavaliers being upset by Toronto. And I know Toronto took them 6 last year, and Toronto likes to think it's better this year with the addition of Serge Ibaka and some other changes. I don't see that. I know I'm speaking for you. You don't see that either.
No, I don't.
And Tony, I do see Houston beating San Antonio, and I wouldn't call it an upset. The question for me with San Antonio is, who's going to be the second great player? Can Tony Parker sustain being – that was a flashback. That was a throwback, Tony Parker, in Game 5 and 6. He looked great. Can he do that? Because LaMarcus Aldridge is not a great player right now, and they need somebody else for San Antonio to me to beat Houston.
Yeah, I'm with you completely on Cleveland. I just don't see them losing. Maybe they will because they've had defensive troubles for the last 2 months, but that first series indicated to me that they're the best team in the East. They play close games with Toronto, but they win them all. If you keep winning the close games, why wouldn't you win the close games? So I'm forced, like you, to talk about Houston beating San Antonio. And Houston looked very, very good against Oklahoma City, but I'm sure you will agree with this. Oklahoma City is nothing like San Antonio. Oklahoma City is a one-man team. San Antonio is a 5-man team. It's much more diversified than Oklahoma City is. So part of me looks at this, and as much as I like Houston, I think, you know what? San Antonio is better. Who's going to stop Kawhi Leonard exactly? Who's going to stop him?
Nobody. Okay. Nobody, Tony. But, I'm not sure they can stop James Harden. And by the way, that matchup is worth watching.
Yeah.
But again, there's got to be a tag team partner for Kawhi Leonard. It is 5-man basketball. You're right. They're not going to load up like Russell Westbrook has to for Oklahoma City. I totally agree with you. That should be a compelling series. It really should be fun to watch. Tony, just last week, you expressed great confidence, optimism that this was to be the Capitals' year.
Yes, I did, yes.
Sure enough, they beat Toronto in the first round, got the Maple Leafs out, but standing squarely in their way now are the Pittsburgh Penguins, who just bum rushed the Capitals for a 2-0 lead. setting up tonight's Game 3 in Pittsburgh. The Capitals are going to put Braden Holtby back in net, which could just entice the Penguins. Tony, at 0-2, going to Pittsburgh, is this thing already over?
It certainly feels like it's over now. It isn't over because this is hockey and not basketball. And in hockey, you play a lot of one-goal games. The Capitals played 6 one-goal games with Toronto and they won 4 of them, so they can win a one-goal game. Now, they have to win tonight. If they go down 0-3, then it's obviously over. History is not on their side. Pittsburgh beats the Caps a lot, including last year. Crosby beats Ovechkin. You know, the Caps choke in the playoffs. It looks like they've started out that way. But I think you would agree with this, that in hockey, things turn very quickly and they turn on one goal. And so winning tonight changes things.
Tony, I agree with that. You know what? Maybe this is a bad comparison because the sports and their cultures are different, as you point out in the postseason. Basketball is not hockey, and hockey is not baseball, but I'm going to a place. I think something extraordinary has to happen for the Capitals to win. They have to get to a place where this is just hopeless again against Pittsburgh, and maybe then there's no pressure for a moment, and they seize that moment and they come back, like the Boston Red Sox being down 3-0 to the New York Yankees. And by the way, while the rivalry's not that old, it is that hated in some way.
There's intensity to it, sure.
There's intensity. And so I'm thinking the Capitals need something.
So wait, are you saying you want them to go down 3-0 so that they can do this? That's
Tony, we've seen them down 3-1. And they've actually played better at times down 3-1.
We've seen them up 3-1 more often, and then they lose.
Terrible.
Okay, the history is this. Pittsburgh has beaten the Caps 8 out of 9 times they've met in the playoffs. And a lot of people will tell you that's ancient history. But it happened last year, too, when the Caps were the number 1 team in the league, as they are now. So,
Holtby, would you have Holtby back in there? Could you go?
100%. You have to, because if you don't put him back in, you've lost him forever.
That's right. He's done if you don't put him back in there.
100%. Okay. Mets pitcher Noah Syndergaard has been diagnosed with a partially torn lat muscle. He's out indefinitely. Now, the intrigue here is that Syndergaard skipped his last start because of bicep discomfort, but refused to take an MRI, which might have revealed this damage. At the time, Syndergaard said, quote, "I'm pretty in tune with my body," unquote. That's a good quote. And the Mets did not press their case. Wilbon, did the Mets mismanage this?
So they didn't mismanage it. Maybe they could have managed it better. But, by the way, Syndergaard, I know he added 17 pounds of muscle in the offseason, reportedly. He looks like a tight end out there, doesn't he, on the mound?
He's big and strong.
He is, but not big and strong enough to prevent these.
Yeah, he's out.
You know, and you don't know what an MRI shows necessarily. I mean, it could have, it could not have.
Yeah.
Look, you can't make him get in the MRI machine. First of all, I'm surprised he can even fit in one, since I can barely fit in one. You can't force him to do that. This was bad judgment on his part, but he is your asset if you're a baseball team like the Mets. So, Tony, I don't know what you do. We see opposite players all the time in sports, and they force difficult situations. They force their management into difficult spots.
Let me give you a quote from the Mets GM Sandy Alderson when Syndergaard would not take the MRI. He said, quote, "I can't tie him down and throw him in the MRI tube," unquote. Yeah, you actually can, and yeah, you should, because you're paying him. The Mets' problem is pitchers' arms. The Mets have 4 great starting pitchers, all young. They got Matz, DeGrom, they got Harvey, and they got Syndergaard. 3 of them before Syndergaard were out with injuries. Now Syndergaard is out with an injury. You're paying this guy's salary way lower than it ought to be, given his talent, but that's the contract that he signed. This is an MRI, Mike. This is not invasive. This is not surgery. You're going in a machine. A lot of bells are going to go off. I mean, you got to make the guy just put him in the MRI machine. It's not the worst thing that ever happened.
I guess you call him and his agent in and you say, you know what, we're not going to pitch you until you take the MRI.
Take the MRI.
I guess you could do that. And that would be, of course, you blackmail him into doing it. That's what you do.
Well,
but Tony, we don't know that it would reveal the second
you're right.
problem anyway.
You're right, but now he's out indefinitely. Matz, I believe, has the same injury. You don't know when that's their strength, is their arms. Let's take a break. Coming up, executives around the NFL are reportedly puzzled by the Chicago Bears draft class. We'll explain it all.
I'm not puzzled at all. It is Anthony Joshua, a heavyweight champ, that could reinvigorate boxing. Puzzled.
I never heard of him until this morning.
Yes, but you've heard of him now.
Yeah, because it's this afternoon.
When did you hear that in North Carolina?
Pardon the interruption is presented by Captain Morgan. Live like a captain. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. And in part by Exxon and Mobile Synergy Gasoline.
At Farmers, we've seen almost everything, so we know how to cover almost anything, even a coop soup.
So beautiful.
Beautiful just like you.
And we covered it November 6, 2009. Talk to Farmers. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Right now, at McDonald's, get any small McCafe, frappe, smoothie, or shake for just $2. $2? I mean, how do you top a delicious, delectable, gotta have it now deal like that? Oh yes, of course. That's how. And to top that off, every 6 McCafe beverage is free with our app. Only at McDonald's.
From the muddy trenches of World War I to the skylines of America, Carhartt has been the uniform for anyone who fears no weather or world in front of them. There are 92 unpredictable days of spring. We've got your back for every single one.
This is the Dyson V8 cord-free vacuum, and this is its Dyson digital motor, generating powerful suction to deep clean carpets, hard floors, clean up high, and convert to a handheld, to dig deep on stairs, furniture, mattresses, and cars, all with up to 40 minutes runtime.
Try Dyson V8 at home with a 90-day money-back guarantee.
Take a look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see it clearer, or are you deceived? 'Cause I'm only human after all. You're only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me.
Start your Sunday with a story. E60, Sundays at 9 on ESPN.
I wrote you a love note without writing a single word.
This Mother's Day, create a gift from the heart that could only come from the Pandora Boutique at Jared. A world of Pandora, including exclusive pieces designed just for Jared. Ready to be mixed, matched, and stacked with help from Jared's own Pandora expert. The one gift that speaks volumes you'll both treasure forever. That's why he went to Jared.
It's hard to resist great taste. It has to be Heinz.
It's a nail biter here in Indy.
No OT tonight. Ball game.
With the smooth finish.
Real smooth.
When you got flow, you know. New Gatorade Flow. All the flavor with a new smooth finish.
Thanks to Old Spice Hydro Wash, my quest for hydration was finally over. Was it a mistake to use my only water to take a shower in a place devoid of all water? Only the sense of time can be the judge of that.
Welcome back to Pardon the Interruption, presented by Captain Morgan, part of Happy Hour.
It's mail time, and today, if we read yours on the air, the Bears will sign you as an undrafted free agent. Let me see what's first.
They might. That would be in keeping with what they just did last week.
The Bears draft puzzled many team execs across the league. Wilbon, did it puzzle you?
No, it didn't puzzle me. It angered me. I'm still angry about it several days later. And it's not just they went out and got a quarterback and they spent a third, and a fourth. 3 starters, what should be 3 starters. They got that tight end from Ashland University. He used to be a big-time basketball player, supposed to be a great athlete. They think they're getting Gronk. A 5'6" running back from North Carolina
Look how
A&T.
tiny that guy was.
They took an injured player from Alabama, a kid who's got a broken leg, and they took an offensive lineman from Kutztown. Now, I don't care where they come from.
Right.
But Ryan Pace better get this group because of that quarterback trade to the Super Bowl. If not, boo him.
So you are angry, and everyone in Chicago is angry, right? You're not
mostly
concerned. You're actually angry. You jump to anger.
Not at the kid.
Not at Trubisky.
You don't trade a whole team. You'd rather have this one kid, Trubisky, than the kid from Clemson and three starters.
Let me ask you this.
Are you kidding me?
You signed Mike Glennon for like $17 million to be the quarterback and invited him to the Bears official team draft party so he could watch Trubisky be drafted. How do you think he felt about that?
About as angry as I do. But he's with us. We'll cheer him.
Do you understand why the Bills waited until after the draft to fire their GM?
No, but, Tony, people presume that these teams all know what they're doing. They don't. They fired Doug Whaley. They gave him a vote of confidence in January. The draft ended Saturday night. He was fired by 8:30 a.m. Sunday. So all while he was working, they were just lying after the vote of confidence, which is essentially a lie, a public lie. Then you fire the guy. So if the draft class winds up being any good, what are you going to do? You're going to bring him back?
No, you're not going to bring him back. I have a serious question. Who is running the Buffalo Bills? Because it's very hard for me to believe that Terry Pegula, who just sort of walked in there a couple of years ago, knows enough to fire a coach in Rex Ryan and fire a GM in Doug Whaley. So that means he's invested all of this power, it seems to me, in a guy named Sean McDermott, who has never coached an NFL game as the head coach in his life. I mean, you look at this team and you say, what exactly is going on here?
Tony,
who is running this team?
It's new ownership, and this guy's local. He's also fired a bunch of guys for the Sabres, and he wants to put his imprint. You know how these guys come in? They come in guns blazing. They want to show you how they know everything.
The Nationals lead the majors in run differential. Do you suddenly see them as the National League favorites?
Of course I do. They're the 27 Yankees, literally. They're averaging 6.8 runs per game. They don't even need starting pitching, yet they're getting it. 170 runs in April, the most of any major league team in 9 seasons. They're a plus 48 now. Maybe the Yankees are like a plus 43. They've lapped the world champion Cubs already.
Yeah.
Just award them. Just bring the trophy out and give it to the Nationals, an MVP.
I'm going to tell you something. Well, Harper is the MVP right now, or Ryan Zimmerman is the MVP, or Daniel Murphy or Trey Turner are the MVPs. I'm going to sit here right now and say they're the best team in baseball right now. Yeah. They are the 27. I don't run away from it like you did last year. I don't run away from it. They're great right now, but they lost Adam Eaton, their starting center fielder for the whole year with a torn ACL.
He's a White
And
Sox.
by the way, their bullpen is so shaky it feels like an earthquake every time they get out there. So in August, you come to me, and if I'm still happy, I'll say they're the best team in baseball.
6.8 runs a game. Don't tell me about your bullpen, and don't tell me about Adam Eaton, who played a month in a Nats uniform.
Adam Eaton was very important. Does Anthony Joshua strike you as the next big thing in boxing?
Well, in Europe, yeah. In Great Britain, certainly. I mean, this kid is 19-0. He knocked Klitschko out, by the way, the other night at TKO in 11 rounds. This kid, Tony, has power. He has charisma. I mean, in a time where boxing mattered around the world, he would be the next big thing. It's big in Great Britain. I spent a lot of time in London the last few years. Boxing's still big there. I think he should just fight there. Fight in Wembley, fill it up like 90,000 like he did the other night until there's a demand in the U.S. to see him. Don't come to the U.S. right now.
Yeah.
Wait until there's a demand, but I'd love to see him in person.
Unbelievable city drop you just made where you said, I spent a lot of time in London the last year. That was fantastic on your part. I have to confess that I didn't even know either Klitschko was still fighting, and I'd never heard of this other kid until this morning. But you know what? Because all we ever talk about is whether or not Mayweather is going to fight this kick fighter somewhere. I like when heavyweights throw punches.
Heavyweights, baby.
I like big guys throwing punches. God help me, I love it so. So I hope this guy's great, and I hope he comes to America and fights anybody, enough female. Let's take one last break. Still to come is Vince Carter making the right call to come back for another season.
Playing well. And when the Orioles and Red Sox pick up where they left off the last time they met, when they were throwing baseballs at each other's heads.
I share your fear that boxing's time is gone.
Tired of paying hundreds more a year in taxes and fees on your wireless bill? Only T-Mobile One gives you unlimited data with taxes and fees included. That'll save you hundreds. Get 2 lines of unlimited data for $100. That's right, 2 lines, $100 all in. And now the brand new Samsung Galaxy S8 is here. So what are you waiting for? Get the new Galaxy S8. Plus get 2 lines of unlimited data for $100. Taxes and fees included. Only at T-Mobile.
There's nothing quite as magical as staying at a Disney Resort hotel. So imagine complimentary rides to and from the park, even extra time with your family in the park. And this summer, you can save up to 25% on rooms at select Walt Disney World Resort hotels. So if you're not staying here, just think what you might be missing.
Every home is unique. That's why I rely on science. You called about termites? Come on in. Got it. How long have they been doing this?
Since they felled them. Hey, where'd you see that termite? By the woodpile!
Oh, those logs can attract termites. Don't worry. Using research from our entomologists, I'll create a termite protection plan that's not only backed by Orkin, but backed by science.
She's bobbing the log, you know what I mean? You bob that log, Candace!
Hey, Frankie, what you got there? It's an Italian hero from Subway.
That's a lot of meat on that sandwich.
Well, yeah, it's got mortadella, spicy capicola. Capicola? Nice. Genoa salami, provolone.
Is that Mediterranean oregano I smell?
Yeah.
That thing is loaded.
That's a nice sandwich. You did good, Frankie.
Tony, come see what Frankie did.
Subway has the authentic taste everyone loves. Introducing the Italian Hero. It's our better Italian flavor for a better Subway.
It's hard to resist great taste. It has to be Heinz.
I wrote you a love note without writing a single word.
This Mother's Day, create a gift from the heart that could only come from the Pandora Boutique at Jared. A world of Pandora, including exclusive pieces designed just for Jared. Ready to be mixed, matched, and stacked with help from Jared's own Pandora expert. The one gift that speaks volumes you'll both treasure forever. That's why he went to Jared.
Dear Journal, today I learned many great things. 1. Old Spice Sweat Defense gives me 48-hour sweat protection. 2. Gorillas have strong muscles and do not speak English.
The NBA playoffs continue Thursday on ESPN.
Boxing's biggest star, the son of a legend.
Chavez has it stakes. Now goes Martinez. Huge right hand by Canelo. Knocked down full.
On Saturday, May 6th, the world will be watching to see who becomes Mexico's undisputed boxing king. Canelo versus Chavez Jr., Saturday, May 6th, live on DirecTV pay-per-view.
What average underwear feels like. What Duluth Trading Buck Naked underwear feels like. Duluth Trading Buck Naked underwear. The most comfortable underwear there is. No pinch, no stink, no sweat. Get a pair. Only at DuluthTrading.com.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by Captain Morgan. Live like a captain. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. And in part by PapaJohns.com. 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas. Only $6.99 each.
Happy time, people. Happy 57th birthday, Steve Cawthon. This is not quite our Kentucky Derby preview, but the Derby is this Saturday. And before American Pharoah won the Triple Crown 2 years ago, the last Triple Crown winner was affirmed, ridden by 18-year-old Stevie Cawthon.
I'll give you some Derby information you can use. This is coming up. Classic Empire and Always Dreaming apparently are the favorites, Tony. We'll talk more about that later in the week.
Happy anniversary, Luke Walton. Around this day last year, Walton agreed to become the next head coach of the Lakers. The season started surprisingly well. Los Angeles went 6-4 early, but they settled into the terrible team that they are. They finished 26-56. Well, with Steve Kerr's health, obviously a question mark, do you think Walton regrets leaving Golden State?
Tony, I'm sure there's some moments, but remember, he played for the Lakers. His dad, of course, famously played for UCLA. He's got strong Southern California ties, and he wanted that gig, so he's got it, and they got to work at it.
Happy trails, Paul Pierce. Pierce finally made it official. retiring after spending only 11 minutes a game on the court this year for the Clippers. That leaves only Vince Carter and Dirk Nowitzki from the draft class of 1998. Wilbon, Pierce and Nowitzki, they're going to the Hall of Fame. Do you think Vince Carter will?
I think Vince is, Tony. It's going to be interesting. I think he wants to keep playing. Talked to Paul Pierce for a long time, spent some time with him yesterday. Fabulous career. I know he didn't want it to end that way, but he's here at home in L.A., He's figuring out what to do with his life. A great career. Congratulations, Paul Pierce.
One error. Stephen Matt's out with an elbow injury at the moment. He had a lat injury a few years ago. I apologize profusely. And we go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
The Oilers and Predators, both up 2-1. Do you expect them to win their series?
Tony, you know I had them jumping ahead in their series respectively, and I expect both to win. Matt Barnes of the Dubs says he wanted to face the Clippers instead of the Jazz because there's no nightlife in Utah. That makes sense, right?
Well, what does it mean? Where's Matt Barnes going to be at 3 a.m. as a result of that? He's got nowhere to go. Tack McKinley will not be fined for cursing during the NFL draft broadcast. Is that the right call?
Yeah, it's different for the NFL. A change of pace, I think it's the right call. Jamal Charles will visit the Broncos tomorrow, Tony. Is that a good fit?
If he's healthy, if Adrian Peterson healthy, if Marshawn Lynch is healthy, those guys are touchdown makers. Are they healthy? Last one, Orioles and Red Sox tonight for the first time since their dust-up. What do you expect?
My hunch tells me nothing. They're not going to do anything.
I think you're right about that. We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. And I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can listen to the PTI podcast on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts.
Sarro's Bakery, shout out. Sent a bunch of stuff. Good.
PTI.
With the first pick, the Cleveland Browns select Myles Garrett.
The Bears come up to number 2.
The Chicago Bears select Mitchell Trubisky. There has been a trade. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson.
This is what I do it for. This is what I do it for, man. I want to thank the Eagle fans for allowing me to have a career in the NFL. Deshaun Kaiser.
I think they really love Lamb.
The greatest fans in all the world.
Pat's cheesesteaks, man. You got to have it.
Go!
You guys do some highlights. I'm going to do the cheesesteak.
Throw it down to Houston.
Raider Nation, live from fabulous Las Vegas.
Who said I had hair gel?
You did.
Mr. Irrelevant 2017 by the Denver Broncos. They select Chad Kelly.
Folks, that's it. The binder's empty. It has been our distinct pleasure.
NFL Live is presented by Navy Federal Credit Union.
And what a tremendous weekend it was. That's it. Those were the final words uttered in Philadelphia as we made our way back. Welcome to NFL Live, our post-draft roundtable, if you will. So we put a bow on this whole thing. Everybody's here. Todd McShay, Mel Kiper Jr., Adam Schefter.
Louis Riddick, Ryan Clark, Tim Hasselbeck. I'm Susie Culver.
Well, we continue. It is Monday, right? So overreaction Monday. But this time around, we get to do a draft, a post-draft edition of Overreaction Monday. So I will start, read a statement. You tell me, overreaction or not an overreaction? We talked a little bit about the quarterbacks earlier. Deshaun Watson, gentlemen, will lead the Texans to the playoffs. Overreaction? Not an overreaction.
I think it's a little bit of an overreaction, only because, I mean, there's going to be so much that he needs to learn that I don't know. He may be a part of them getting to the playoffs, but I don't know if he's going to be the one who leads them. I think they're going to rely on the fact that this is a very well-balanced, well-constructed football team, and that's not to take anything away from what his contribution may be. I just don't know if he'll be the one who leads them to the playoffs.
I actually think this is not an overreaction for me. Marcus Mariota's coming off a broken leg. Andrew Luck had shoulder surgery. The Jaguars are still the Jaguars until they prove otherwise. And I actually think that the fit for Deshaun Watson ends up being good. And Tom Savage hasn't really been able to stay healthy. So I think we're going to see a Deshaun Watson fairly early, and that's a good football team around him.
I don't think it's an overreaction because look at the quarterbacks they've gotten to the playoffs with in the previous years. Right. I think he's better than a lot of those guys. This team is set up to be successful.
I was just trying to say it without insulting those other guys.
Oh, well, that's what I don't play quarterback. I ain't sure. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's an overreaction at all.
I think it's an overreaction. Yeah, I think Indianapolis will be better.
I think Tennessee's on their way. I think the division has shifted a little bit, so I don't think mediocrity necessarily will get you in the playoffs now. And Deshaun Watson's not ready. I think if you're not precise, you're not accurate in college, can Bill O'Brien get him that ready, that much more prepared and equipped to be a successful starting quarterback? I don't think it happens overnight. I think it's going to be a tough rookie year for Watson if, in fact, he's forced to be on the field.
Slight overreaction, I would say. I think they could make it to the playoffs, but I don't know. When you say he led them to the playoffs, I think
he's got to be the starter.
Sounds like what I said.
I can see Savage.
You guys are giving them. You guys are good fit. You're like they can go to the playoffs, but he can be the quarterback, but he's not the leader.
That's what this is. This is the smart table run.
I see.
Oh, this side. Okay,
we're going with the one word.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Houston Rockets back in the day did take Hakeem Olajuwon over Michael Jordan.
Here's the NBA sideline guy.
So now, Hakeem Olajuwon over Michael Jordan. Now the Houston Texans have the Michael Jordan of college football.
Listen, though, to Ryan's point, the Texans have won 4 of the last 6 divisions. I'll just read the quarterback list of Brock Osweiler, Ryan Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, T.J. Yates, Matt Shaw.
Right. And the other 16 quarterbacks that played in between those guys getting them to the playoffs.
Oh, and they would like to get a little bit farther than they have.
Yes.
All right, so Tim mentioned the Jags, so let's go there next. Overreaction or not, that Leonard Fournette, taken by the Jags with the 4th overall pick, will lead all rookies in rushing. Overreaction, Mel?
It's a little overreaction. Leonard Fournette should, if the offensive line improves dramatically and Blake Bortles improves dramatically. If you're going to bet on that, you got to bet on 2 things happening. And Tom Coughlin's going to come in there and be the savior and all these things because Tom Coughlin's influences there are going to help him, drafting Cam Robinson and what have you. I think you have guys like Christian McCaffrey. You have Kareem Hunt in Kansas City. I think Jeremy McNichols in Tampa Bay was a real good 5th-round pick. So I'll take the field over a brick wall, which could stop Leonard Fournette.
We can tell who's not here on Mondays during the season, and it's Mel. You can't do that, Mel. You can't change the wording of it, Mel. You can't say should.
I said he should, but he won't.
Listen, it's not an overreaction. It's not an overreaction. Because for it to be an overreaction, it has to be like ludicrous, right? We got to be like, no way that'll happen.
So he's the favorite.
Yeah, it's not an overreaction.
I don't think it's an overreaction because by virtue of the fact that he's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of touches running the football, and we're talking about how many he's going to lead rookies as far as rushing. Now, Christian's going to get a lot of touches in many different ways, but I don't know if his rushing numbers will be up there. Kareem Hunt's going to be battling with some other people who touch the football a lot. Dalvin Cook, I mean, he's still going to be a guy who's really, I think he's going to fit in as a 3rd down option first, and then he'll get some more touch. So I think Leonard's going to be that 1st and 2nd down pounder. You don't carry the ball 20 times a game.
If Leonard Fournette stays healthy, if he stays healthy, he's going to lead the Jaguars in rushing. Last year, Ezekiel Elliott was the 4th overall pick. They didn't take Leonard Fournette at 4 not to feed him the football over
they're going to get it out of him.
And they're playing with a head coach,
the defense is
and Tom Coughlin who want to run the football.
Our quarterback is making too many mistakes. We are shifting the whole focus. We'll go with our strength, our defense, and let's slow down this game. And that's why I think Leonard Fournette has a really good chance.
Did Leonard Fournette run well against Alabama? He couldn't run against that brick wall when you had no passing game. So if you have a passing game and Bortles is improved, fine.
If you think that, then where'd you rank him?
Has nothing to do with it.
Doesn't matter, Tom. It doesn't matter.
By the way, in news today, the Jags picked up the 5th-year option for Bortles. They also drafted Cam Robinson. They also drafted D.D. Westbrook. They're putting a lot of things around him, so this is his opportunity to make work. And they didn't draft a quarterback.
And that's a big and. All right, speaking of, well, it's not a quarterback, actually, but we're going to go back to the
Dracket,
if you will, Todd and Mel. And eventually we're going to get this, this is going to be smooth sailing, I think.
1 for 2.
Now's the time. All right, let's go to the AFC North, shall we? And Todd, I think this is you, Steelers-Ravens against each other.
This is a tough call. This really was, and I'm going to wind up going with the Steelers here. The Ravens, I liked what they did. Their front 7 after they really attacked all the way down to Tim Williams in the 3rd round. Marlon Humphrey they got at the cornerback position with their 1st pick. Chris Wormley coming in from Michigan. They had a lot of good picks, but tough bracket here in the AFC North. Steelers, I thought, a little bit more complete in terms of what they were able to do. And then I went with the Browns, actually. With their draft, I say that like I'm surprised, but when you get away from the quarterback for a second, and you look at what they were able to do, I thought that they were strong from top to bottom, and you compare it to the Bengals, I just thought that they had a little bit more complete in terms of what their draft was, and there was some, the character issue for me with Joe Mixon made this easier of a call, but I'm interested to see. I know they reached for him a little bit, but John Ross is a really good weapon and a vertical weapon. We'll see how he can produce and if he can stay healthy with the Bengals.
The quarterback issue is certainly headlines the Browns, but you have to look at the whole body of work. To your point, all of their draft picks.
It was good, but it's not good enough to beat what the Steelers did.
Good, but not good enough.
I thought the Steelers did an outstanding job. When you look at top to bottom, they were able to go out and get players in the early rounds, I think, can come in and make a big difference. And then they're able to get the quarterback late. TJ Watt, they've got Juju Smith-Schuster at the wide receiver position. I think he could lead all rookie receivers this year with Ben Roethlisberger throwing the ball around. And then they get a quarterback to try to develop in Josh Dobbs in the 4th round. I thought was worth a pick in the 2nd round.
All right, here we go. We got this.
There you go.
All right. Into the AFC South.
Yours, Kuiper.
All right, thank
you. Here we go. It's all yours, my friend.
I'm going to go here. Tennessee over the Houston Texans. And I think when you look at where Houston can be, we're all going to debate Deshaun Watson and where he is, obviously, as a quarterback in the NFL, as a rookie, but more so down the road. And I think when you look at a guy like Zach Cunningham, he gives them what they want, size and length. They have great length in the front 7. Now you had a kid who's almost 6'4", with incredibly long arms. So I like kind of some of the things Houston did, but I give Tennessee the edge.
All right, Colts and Jaguars.
I look at this and you say, okay, where's Jacksonville going to be? Yeah, down the road, but I gave the edge to Indy. Fournette, where's he going to be? With an offensive line, Cam Robinson could be a mauler, no question about that, which will help him. That's Cam Robinson's strength. Can he hold up in pass protection? We'll see. Jacksonville also added some players down the line a little bit that I like. Blair Brown being one of those, a linebacker out of Ohio.
All right, so now we can name a division winner. The winner of the division is?
I look at this and you say, okay, you got the Steelers here and you got the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to go Tennessee. I think Tennessee is the team that did a good job overall, adding pieces to the equation.
2 years in a row.
Corey Davis, it should be Marcus Mariota's #1 option going in, and they had a lot of other weapons as well. You think about Adoree Jackson. I think you can see him on the offensive side. He's also a great punt returner. Taywan Taylor, underrated receiver out of Western Kentucky. Help your quarterback. Marcus Mariota, don't leave him out on the island. John Robinson does a great job. Seems like year in and year out. He got Jack Conklin, the great right tackle last year, and he added more pieces for Marcus Mariota this year.
All right, we started with 32 teams. We've got 3 divisions left as we make our way to ultimately one team who bested the draft. And I think we did all right that time. That was strong to strong. Susie?
All right, as we continue here, we'll dive into some of the more controversial picks of the 2017 NFL Draft. Names you've heard repeatedly: Mixon, Conley, Lewis.
You're watching NFL Live, presented by Navy Federal Credit Union.
Come with me. Dannon Oikos Triple Zero is my go-to protein snack.
Okay. Protein from yogurt?
Yep, this Greek non-fat yogurt packs 15 grams of protein punch.
But what else?
Unlike some other protein snacks, it has 0 added sugar, 0 artificial sweeteners, and 0 fat.
And will it up my game?
Nah, man. Oikos Triple Zero. Be unstoppably you.
Metro News at 6.
Tom? Hey.
Snickers satisfies.
At Bridgestone, our engineers want to help make sure you're not stuck on the side of the road. Our revolutionary Drive Guard tires are engineered to take a puncture and drive up to 50 miles.
Ready to go.
Watch our latest Archer demo at BridgestoneTire.com.
Get half off exactly what you want with Pizza Hut's 50% off pizza deal. That's 50% off your favorites like hand-tossed pepperoni, meat lovers, or even Original Fan Supreme. That's right, get 50% off any menu price pizzas when you order online. But hurry, this deal ends soon. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
E-Trade's powerful trading tools give you access to in-depth analysis and a team of experienced traders ready to help you if you need it. It's like having the power of a trading floor wherever you are. It's your trade. E-Trade.
You said you're not like me. You never got to your knees. Look into the sky for a momentary high. Never even tried till it's time to say goodbye. Everybody fights for living life. I believe.
Geico Motorcycle. Great rates for great rides.
Oh, I just bought a hybrid car, this Ioniq that you see.
Who knew that it would be the perfect ride for me? It sips the fuel, the tech is cool, this baby really runs. Everybody loves it, from my ladies
to my bros.
You know, the world didn't need another hybrid. It needed a better hybrid. Introducing the Hyundai Ioniq, the most fuel-efficient car in America.
NFL Live is presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA, and in part by Napa Auto Parts. Keep your ride running longer, stronger with Napa Know-How.
As our roundtable continues, we'll spend some time on the more complicated selections. Red flags for a draft prospect come in many shades of red. OSU cornerback Arian Conley fell to pick number 24 after reports of an investigation for rape allegations that he strongly denies. The Bengals drafted Joe Mixon, who was suspended at Oklahoma for a year after punching a woman. Prospects like Jordan Lewis, Florida defensive tackle Caleb Brantley were more talented than their draft spot due to off-field concerns as well. All right, Adam, you shared during the draft and after Joe Mixon was selected that only 4 teams had him on the board actually going into the draft. And then Mixon was asked very little about football in his initial time with the media in Cincinnati. How would you manage the message going forward?
Listen, I think that when the Bengals took him, they had to know everything that was going to come along with him. They had to be able to provide a support staff. They have to be able to provide ideas for him and them, how to handle this situation. They've been through the snuff. If you look at that team and all the players that they've gambled on in the past and had it, by and large, work out for them. Adam Jones, Vontaze Burfict. We could go on and on with more and more names. But yes, 28 teams either had him off the board or weren't going to draft him. There were 4 that were seriously considering him. He went to one of the places that was on that list, clearly with the second pick, or second round draft pick there.
And Lewis, the organization made it clear. That was it. He addressed it. They don't want to address it going forward.
Yeah, I think.
How do you adhere to that?
Yeah, it'll be tough because there will be reporters who want to continuously ask him about it and ask him about his decision-making process and how he can ensure the Cincinnati Bengals, the fans of Cincinnati, and the fans of the National Football League at large that you're a changed person, that you're someone who won't make those kind of choices anymore. And all the Bengals can do, really, I mean, when you talk about how do they manage the message here and how do they manage the situation, one of the ways they can manage it is actively helping Joe Mixon make sure he's making the right decisions and support him off the football field, because right now, look, there's nothing he can do to change the past. They've made their decision. He's on their football team. Now, just like with any other draft pick, as far as you developing them once you get them under your roof, that's what they're charged with now. That's what they've accepted right now, so that's what they better do. Because otherwise, look, all of us are just, well, no, I shouldn't say all of us. There will be plenty of people that are waiting for him to slip up again. That's just the nature of what happens when you commit these kind of transgressions. That's just what you
Can he be embraced in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's a decision that many people in that locker room will look at and see it as the disgusting act that it was. And they will understand that. But it's also the most forgiving place I've ever been in my life. It's a place where you understand people make mistakes, you understand people put themselves in bad decisions, and you try to give them a chance to move on. And that's what'll happen. Hopefully there will be veterans in there that embrace the process Lou was talking about. That it won't just be the team saying, hey, you need to do this, or the team delegating these things for him to do, but veterans taking them under their wings and saying, hey, listen, this is the way you have to conduct yourself. These are the places you have to put yourselves in. These are the things that you have to do to move on and be better. I also don't think this is something that needs to be addressed consistently and constantly throughout his career. Give him an opportunity to move on from it, not only in his actions and the way that he conducts himself, but also in the way that you let him live his life.
If you're the Bengals, all you have to do is call the Kansas City Chiefs and ask how they handled the situation with Tyreek Hill last year. Because they did a great job of managing that situation, exposing him a limited amount, bringing him along and helping him grow as a young man and having him shine.
I think the situations are different, though.
I would say this. So you brought up the locker room, Susie. The truth is, the locker room literally might be the most forgiving place on the planet. I mean, you have a wide collection of guys from different backgrounds, and they are very accepting of one another. One of the areas, and Lou alluded to it, that's really not that forgiving is local media. I mean, and so I think that in terms of how you handle it, it's about how you handle the local media that is telling your fan base, you shouldn't cheer for this guy. You should cheer for Tyreek Hill. I think that's as much of a problem for the team, and probably more so than the actual locker room.
And you know what? The fact of the matter is the difference with the Tyreek Hill situation is, although Kansas City did handle it great, I get it. Number one is where they were drafted, and number two, the local media can just go like this. We have this. Look at
That's the hard part.
And see, with Tyreek, it's kind of like it's left to your imagination, and the local media can just go, hey, here you go. This is what we're talking about. Address it. Even though you want to keep it on the background, you just can't.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that you don't want to address it all day long, but you cannot stop people from asking, and that's the difference.
Wait, Wendy, 1 second, because our producers are telling us that WCPO, the local affiliate, has asked people to boycott if he is on the field.
The local media.
And they cannot control that part. You know, you can only control your part of the narrative.
And Tyreek Hill, by the way, was a fifth-round pick who nobody necessarily thought was a guaranteed draft choice. So he wasn't discussed. There was nothing discussed about Tyreek Hill leading up to the draft. And once he was drafted, it was kind of a surprise. Then everybody went back to what he did, but no video. Joe Mixon had been discussed for months and months leading up to the draft, speculating on where he would go. Tyreek Hill, after nobody talked about.
Well, here's something else that couldn't be talked about as a big lead-up is cornerback Garyon Conley, who the Raiders took, because that's something that developed again right around draft time. Is there more happening with this right now?
He's meeting today with investigators. He's going to provide a DNA sample. He's going to provide them a statement, and we'll see where the case goes from that point on. But he's going to do his part to cooperate with authorities. I was told Thursday night during the opening round of the draft, there were 3 witnesses at the time with him. 2 men and 1 woman, and police were questioning the woman involved that night. She was giving a statement to police, which I think will be defending Garyon Conley, and we'll see where this all turns out.
That's one of 3 players that have cases and legal issues coming up. Caleb Brantley is another one coming out of Florida, and Jordan Lewis, the cornerback from Michigan, went to the Dallas Cowboys. So there are 3 players still with open legal situations.
We talked about this, Todd, the few days before the draft. Did it seem like we had more of this time around, or is that just, do we say that every year?
It seemed like it, and I think in part because it was a lot of high players and the late breaking news of the Caleb Brantley and then Conley right after Brantley. And these are guys we were talking about in the first 2 rounds of the draft, and Jordan Lewis was another one. So I think that combined with a lot of injuries, too, with top players this year.
The Peppers Foster. And that came into the mix late in the process as well, affecting, we thought, their draft position. It did. Look where Reuben Foster dropped to.
And more coverage and scrutiny than ever before. It increases every year.
No question. And that's not going to stop.
Look, and there's no doubt if you're the general manager or the decision maker, in these kinds of decisions, you better be right. I mean, that's given with any pick, but in this case, you better be right. But you're not alone on an island, because with a lot of these, ownership had to have played a big part in the decision. So you're all
the owners picking the player.
You are all in this.
I sense something there.
All right, as we continue here, another controversial figure for lots of different reasons was Reuben Foster, considered by many one of the best players in the entire draft, but he fell to the bottom of the first round. We'll talk about that.
Heineken tastes perfect every single time, and that doesn't happen by accident. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster. Almost as long as it took me to master this look.
She came to meet a man. She found an angel. What's his name now?
Still practicing. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster. There's more behind the star.
Hit Escape with great deals on great gear from Bass Pro Shops. Like ladies' gathered V-neck shirts for under $10. Bass Pro canopy chairs for under $20. And shop hundreds of other great deals only at Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here.
Just gonna do a little cut.
Joe. Yeah. I think you need to let go of the air booster. Why don't we sell it on Let Go?
I'll take it.
It's time to snap, post, chat, and sell. It's time to let go.
Nature made it delicious. We made it a snack. Chobani Flip.
Gotcha, Mom. But now that you're listening, did you know that Capri Sun doesn't have all the artificial stuff you think it has? Well, you do now. Get those kids some Capri Sun.
This piece is so you. I saw it and I was just like, oh, I have to have it.
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments, there's one of these.
This piece is so you.
I saw it and I was like, have to have it.
From renters insurance to rewards credit cards, State Farm is here to help.
Do you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS? Wages being garnished? Unfiled tax returns? Don't take chances with the IRS, the most powerful collection agency in the world. Take steps now and protect your family. If not, the IRS will seize property, garnish your wages, levy your bank account, even close your business. Give your family the peace of mind you deserve. Call the Tax Defense Group now for the 100% satisfaction guarantee. We are a team of lawyers, licensed tax experts, and enrolled agents. The Tax Defense Group is the only tax company available 24 hours a day. Don't be a victim of IRS wage garnishments, bank levies, or property seizures. Call the most trusted name in tax. Call the Tax Defense Group right now. Call today and mention the $2.99 Fresh Start service and take the first steps in resolving your tax nightmare. Call the company that clients are raving about. If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS, it's time to call the most trusted name in tax, the Tax Defense Group.
Come on, Philly, come on. There you go. Pretty cool.
He doesn't go to the bathroom.
What you notice there is that Mel is the only one on the set.
You've taken how many bathroom breaks in 34 years?
I want to thank the Eagle fans for allowing me to have a career in the NFL. Thank you.
The New York J-E-T-E Jets. The New York J-E-T-E Jets.
You got a choice.
Leave the set.
You can either retire or no more hair gel. Your choice.
Who said I had hair gel?
You did.
I expected more from Philly. As many hits I put on y'all running backs and receivers.
How cool is this? How cool is this?
Nobody wins them all, Mel. No. Nobody wins them all. Oh, he's actually leaving. Look at this. Come on. There he is. He's coming back.
And still hasn't gone to the bathroom.
That's exactly right. That would have been an opportunity for him to take his first or second bathroom break in 35 years.
And on behalf of the five-time world champion Dallas Cowboys, Hall of Fame owner Jerry Jones, Gene Jones, and the Jones family.
So lucky for us, yeah, he's still just one break. How many years? 35?
And there's an asterisk. 34.
Oh, wait. Dare I ask?
There's a caveat.
There's always an asterisk. No, this one's legit though. Thank you. This is legit.
All right, listen, and he came back. That's the bigger news as we continue our bracket. I just said that's growing on me.
Laugh at it or with it.
That's right. NFC North, Todd.
Packers over the Lions. Tough call, but going with the Packers here. The Lions, I did like what they did in terms of where they got players. Tease Tabor, I didn't have a problem with him taking in a second, even though he ran the poor 40-yard dash times at Combine and Pro Day. But I didn't mind that pick. Jared Davis, I really liked, and I like that you're bringing Davis with Tibor. Keep him kind of in line and moving forward. Here are the Vikings, taking the Vikings over the Bears. Vikings more complete draft. The Bears, look at what they did. It's risk-reward. And 5 years from now, if Mitch Trubisky is their starting quarterback and a good starting quarterback, then they'll have won. But until then, I think it was a lot of risk, gave up a lot in order to go up and get Trubisky at that spot. And then Packers, Vikings, I'm going to go with the Vikings again. I think Rick Spielman did a really good job in terms of what he was able to get with the picks that they had, maneuvering around as he always does. A lot of depth in this draft, and Dalvin Cook, another guy who's, there's some character issue, there's some durability issues, but to get him where they got him and be able to use him as a secondary role, a complementary role, I think he's so explosive that it made a lot of sense.
All right, we go bottom right. We got the Falcons. Here we go, the NFC South.
There you go, Mel.
Mel, here you go.
Away.
Yeah, you look at this, I think it was pretty close. I gave the edge to Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers, but Atlanta, the Falcons did a good job. They didn't win a Super Bowl because their defense let them down. They needed another pass rusher to complement Vic Beasley. He's healthy. Tack McKinley can do that. Added a linebacker out of LSU, Duke Riley, to stay next to Deion Jones, and a playmaking corner who had a ton of interceptions here. DeMonte Casey could be a real good pick for the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, Mel, round us out.
You know, you look at this, New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints did a good job, but the Carolina Panthers, their emphasis was help Cam Newton, and they did that with Christian McCaffrey. They also did with Curtis Samuel, who's similar to McCaffrey, doesn't have the return skills. I think Taylor Moton, the offensive tackle guard out of Western Michigan, will be a key as well. So I think everything here, Cam Newton coming off the injury to assist him moving forward this year.
All right, finish this division, then all our divisions will be done. We'll be down to the Elite Eight, if you will.
Well, you look at this, but the San Francisco New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay, New Orleans, it was close. Tampa Bay, I gave the edge to. When you look at O.J. Howard, that was the whole key. It was about him and the quarterback again, Jameis Winston. They have Cameron Brate. O.J. Howard's a big target. You think about a guy like Godwin out of Penn State. Think about the ability of Beckwith out of LSU, Kendall Beckwith. Tampa Bay, from start to finish, did a good job helping Jameis Winston, but also helping the defense. And Jeremy McNichols out of Boise State's a good fifth-round running back.
All right, look, this is our post-draft edition of NFL Live, and the whole purpose of this exercise, this bracket, is to see which team fared the best over the weekend. And we're down to 8, so we've gone through each division, so now we're going to let everybody else chime in. So we have, a few more countries heard from, Susie, in just a minute.
All right, well, as we continue with our roundtable wrap-up of the 2017 draft, since it's Monday and everyone's had a chance to sleep on some of these picks, it's the perfect time for the real deal Overreaction Monday. And there's a disclaimer here that I am from Philadelphia, and I know that Ron Jaworski worked his tail off for months and months and months to get the draft there, and it was fabulous. All of that said, overreaction that the draft should be in Philly every year. Todd, what do you think?
I think it's slight overreaction because other cities should get involved. And I don't. If you
slight, you can't even give like a definitive answer on
That's two slight reactions for you.
Right back. I can fight for the deal with this. I'd say overreaction. I think they should spread the wealth. But I'll tell you what, if it's going to be hard to match what Philly did. This was an unbelievable event. It wasn't just a football draft. It was an event. And I was so impressed with Philly fans and with Ron Jaworski and everyone who was involved with it. To me, it was the most fun draft I've ever been a part of. Go ahead.
Not an overreaction.
Okay.
You think Philly every year,
Listen,
huh?
I was undrafted, so I didn't get to go to draft.
Good point.
So this was my first time. And it was amazing. Like, it was an event. It wasn't just like, we're just going to call these names and people are going to boo or do whatever. Like, it was a festival. It was Coachella. Like, it was like, I ain't this old. It was Woodstock. Like, it was amazing.
How would you know if it was Woodstock?
Because it looked like it on the picture.
They had fun, right?
He read it in his encyclopedia.
Over a quarter of a million people attended the draft.
We did it in New York forever.
I'll tell you what, I love Philadelphia. Love it. The
switch it
fans
up.
were great.
Yes.
But you cannot, based on what you saw, deny every other city. They got to look at that and say, how about us? They're jealous now. They're sitting back saying, why can't you bring that to my city?
Life's not fair, Mel.
I think it's important, though, that this is a passionate fan base, and they showed up because it's a passionate fan base. I'm not sure that this is going to work as well in some,
Listen, take Chicago, for example.
The bar was
And the
raised.
key is year after year, would it be the same?
You know what? I would
now
bet
that they saw it that one time and they experienced that one time.
I'll bet in
will everybody come
Philadelphia.
back?
I'll bet in Philadelphia it would. I bet you there'd be a bunch of people who said, you know what? I didn't go down there. I'm going to go down next time.
Because
next year,
everybody
I'm
else
there.
did.
And the people who were there
You
saw how well
tell
it
me
went.
another city that'll
And they
turn out
didn't
that
get to
kind of
boo
crazy.
enough. And they were
people will turn out in cities like Dallas.
That's exactly
People
what
will
I'm saying.
that's
There
the
were
key.
16 cities, 16, that sent representatives to Philadelphia this weekend to site survey that city to see how the draft went because they want the draft in their city. And there are a lot of cities. If you put the draft in Dallas next year, which they've talked about doing, I guarantee you.
What about Baltimore?
Jerry's real. Baltimore.
Then Mel won't have
Green
to travel.
Bay.
Can't go to Inner Harbor? Are you kidding me?
Nashville, Las Vegas.
And you
Don't put a fancy football convention there, but the draft, that's okay.
You can guarantee it's going to be in L.A.
Yes.
When that stadium opens, it will be in LA.
Well, we also had the benefit
it'll be
of
like the
perfect
Philly
weather.
fans
It
in
was
LA?
beautiful. All right. Well, we shall see. We continue Overreaction Monday. Back to the field. Reuben Foster will be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Overreaction or
It's
not
an overreaction. It's an overreaction because
Why?
Jamal Adams is going to be the Rookie of the Year. So that's the end of my discussion.
lover.
Overreaction. I'll take the field. I've got about 150 other guys.
Yeah, listen.
Take the field. There's 150 or so defensive players in the draft. I'll take the field over him.
I can't say overreactions. I picked Reuben Foster to be Defensive Rookie of the Year, which means he probably won't be, because I'm never right.
That's not fair to Reuben Foster.
Years on this.
You've never done a defensive
Way to
rookie.
set him up,
single
Mel.
one.
Wow.
Way to set him up. Good job.
I like Todd's call, though. It's the guy that he gets a couple tip balls, and you look up at the end of the year, and he's got 4 interceptions, and it's hard to look past.
Well, somebody's got to make the argument that it's not an overreaction.
It's not an overreaction.
Okay, there we
This
go.
guy's as good as Navarro Bowman. This guy's as good as Patrick Willis. Watch. And I love Jamal Adams. I think he'll be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think he'll be co-Defensive Rookies of the Year. How's that?
That's perfect because both of those guys are so likable, too.
Yeah.
When you meet them in person, you want to root for them.
They're the two most ferocious defensive players in this draft at their respective positions. Any position, those two right there.
All right.
It's unanimous.
It is, just about. One dissenter in the bunch.
Just as long as Mel's not picking.
Yeah, that's like the
Now that you
SI
said it, it's kind of
Don't you
messing
think
it
Reuben
up.
Foster wants those other teams to pay for not taking him?
All right, and of
No
course,
doubt.
now that the draft is behind us, we turn our attention to plenty of unfinished business. So I think those names maybe came up a little. Jay Cutler, Colin Kaepernick. Where might they end up? We'll discuss that when our roundtable edition of NFL Live continues.
Yeah, I just saved a whole lot of money by switching to Geico.
Huh. We should take a closer look at Geico.
You know, Geico insures way more than cars, boats, motorcycles, even RVs.
Geico insures RVs? What's an RV?
The thing we've been stuck on for 5 years.
Wait, I'm not a real moose?
We've been over this, Jeff.
We're stickers.
I'm not a real moose.
Give him some space.
Deep breaths, Jeff.
What's a sticker?
Take a closer look at Geico. Great savings and a whole lot more. DiGiorno?
Rise to the occasion. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And it's all tied up in Chicago.
I got this. Game over.
When you got flow, you know. New Gatorade Flow. All the flavor with a new smooth finish.
Take your time, take your time, take your time. No need to hurry. Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. No need to hurry. No slipping, no sliding.
The Corona can always finds its beach.
Oh, I just bought a hybrid car, this Ioniq that you see.
Who knew that it would be the perfect ride for me? It sips the fuel, the tech is cool, this baby really rush. Everybody loves it from my ladies
to my bros.
You know, the world didn't need another hybrid. It needed a better hybrid. Introducing the Hyundai Ioniq, the most fuel-efficient car in America.
There's nothing quite as magical as staying at a Disney Resort hotel. So imagine complimentary rides to and from the park, even extra time with your family in the park. And this summer, you can save up to 25% on rooms at select Walt Disney World Resort hotels. So if you're not staying here, just think what you might be missing.
They said he was too old. They said she couldn't compete. They said we couldn't compete. The new Skechers Go Run 5. Skechers Performance. Choose greatness.
I've played more than 200 consecutive games. I've caught over 1,000 passes for over 11,000 yards. Had to block some of the toughest defensive ends in this league over the past 13 seasons. Done all that and more to earn this.
I found it on NFLshop.com. My mom got it for me.
The best place to get authentic NFL gear, NFLshop.com.
The Galaxy has spoken.
Hang on.
Marvel has done it again.
Now, listen to them explain why in more detail.
Go! Guardians is a wild summer ride. Yes! It's laugh out loud funny. Epic. Thrilling.
Son of a...
It's out of this world.
Good. Wait, it's out of what?
It's metaphorical! Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, rated PG-13, everywhere May 5th.
Welcome back to NFL Live, presented by Navy Federal Credit Union.
Tuesday at 7 Eastern, we'll have the final 2 episodes of We the Fans, our 8-part up-close and personal look into the lives of Chicago Bears season ticket holders in Section 250 at Soldier Field. You can catch up on all the episodes on Watch ESPN anytime you want. With the draft in the books, now perhaps a clearer picture of how rosters will fall, and this means there's a couple of big-name free agent quarterbacks still out there. Maybe it clears up where they could land. The first one being Jay Cutler, who rumors developed that maybe he was going to retire. His agent insisted no. Any thoughts, anybody, on where you think a good fit could be?
I don't have a landing spot for him, I got to be honest. And I think that he would have to be willing to do this. I think he'd have to go back somebody up. And I think he'd have to go back somebody up that he has a good relationship with. And that's not a, there's not a
lot of those.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think
which is crazy for a guy with his ability.
I think these teams are going to have to go into OTAs and go into mini camps with some of these quarterbacks they have on the roster and figure out if they think these guys are good enough or better or that much better than Jay Cutler. But I think that becomes the issue. People don't necessarily want to give him the starting job. So it's very possible he can be a backup. And as a starter, he didn't necessarily become a part of the greatest quarterback rooms in the NFL. And so that's a difficult decision.
Well, your young guys around
It's
him.
possible that Jay Cutler, Colin Kaepernick, something could develop training camp.
Yes.
Or even later than that. All right, Adam, let's turn to you right now because you have some breaking news.
As it turns out, the draft comes and goes, and some teams fill holes and some teams don't fill holes. The Denver Broncos did not get a running back in this past weekend's draft. So they are bringing former Chiefs running back Jamal Charles to Denver on Tuesday for a physical to see what he's like at that point in time. And this could be a good fit for both sides. The Broncos sound enthusiastic about this right now. But Jamal Charles, who was a cap casualty right before free agency, is now expected to visit the Denver Broncos. And if you remember back in the day, the Denver Broncos love to dip their toes into the Chiefs' former players. Keith Traylor, the defensive lineman, Neil Smith, the defensive end. They brought them over. They helped Denver win a Super Bowl. Now, Denver's looking at another former Chiefs running back. Kansas City busy at running back in the draft, Mel, as you and Todd know. But Jamal Charles will take a physical with the Broncos on Tuesday. And both sides seem like motivated to get it done and enthusiastic about trying to make this happen.
Yeah, the process never ends.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because when you look at the Denver Broncos last year, really their problems, I don't necessarily believe were the runners, more so than the blockers. When you think of the fact that they only averaged 2 yards before contact last year as a team, one of only 4 teams that were below 2 yards before first contact, that doesn't speak to the runners. That speaks to the offensive line. Really, to me, it's about, look, Garrett Bowles. It's about those guys right now really asserting their influence on this football team. And Jamal Charles is a wonderful talent. I don't know how much time he has left. Obviously, if Kansas City has moved on from him, they see some issues as far as what his longevity is. But everything about Denver on the offensive side of the ball starts and ends with the offensive line as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they'll have 4 new starters on the offensive line from last year.
Yeah. But, I mean, Jamal Charles is the guy we've seen be able to take little cracks and creases and make them into big plays. So the huge thing is when you bring him in for this physical, obviously they posted some videos of him doing some drills last week. If he can be that same guy, you have a guy that you can create things with, whether it's out of the passing game or in the run game. And so I totally agree with Lewis. It wasn't necessarily about the runners, although it did shift once C.J. Anderson was hurt. In the middle of the season. But I think if you can get the right type of fit for him, if you can get some holes to open up, he's a guy who can give you some big playability, which they missed last year.
Sure. I think the hard part, what happens here, if you think about this is a team that was really good defensively. You talk about all the new stars in the offensive line. You can have a new quarterback, talking about maybe a new runner. I think it's a pretty good example. You got to be careful of when you have older players that are departing of what it can ultimately end up doing your football team. And they were in the Super Bowl not that long ago, and now look where they are. It's a team that is literally trying to rebuild.
Right, the team has changed drastically since that Super Bowl win, and in some of the most important positions of leadership.
All right, we're going to continue with our, what do we call it? The dracket.
You know what we call it.
The dracket.
You're the only one calling it that.
No, they put it up there. See, there it is right there. All right, so we're down to 8 final teams. And again, the purpose really is sort of to determine who really did well over the weekend given what we know now. This time we're going to give everybody a chance to weigh in. But we will start with Todd because he's taken us through the Patriots and the Chargers, Todd.
I'm going to go with the Patriots here. I just think I'd rather have known commodities, and that's what they did with this year's draft, is they used their draft picks to go get known commodities, and Brandon Cooks at receiver, Coney Ealy, defensive line, Mike Gillislee at running back, and Dwayne Allen. Plus, I like the Derek Rivers pick because that was probably their biggest need going into the draft, and he to me, is a player with experience, small level school, but can get to the quarterback. And then you've got between the Steelers and Titans. This was a tough one. I battled with this one.
Tread really carefully.
I am going with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ryan's going to think that's a job well done.
I just thought they had a strong overall draft. T.J. Watt may have been their biggest reach, and I thought it was a pretty solid pick. Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, is going to have a big year with the Pittsburgh Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger as the quarterback.
I think that Cameron Sutton pick also is kind of under the radar for me because he was a guy coming into the season who you looked at, he was ranked pretty high as compared to some of those guys entering their senior year. He gets injured, misses some things, and we know they need help in the secondary.
You got to give Tennessee some love, though.
Well,
Tennessee is right there. I mean, they have now got perimeter weapons on offense and defensively. Look, if Adoree Jackson can really turn into be a guy who is an every down corner who can defend some of the Skywalkers he's going to have to play against. But that's a heck of a.
And what he was able to do without technique. If you watch his film, it was all athletic, raw ability.
Look, the Titans have built themselves a football team just right by the numbers. Take care of the offensive line, run the football hard, and then we'll get into the flashy Ferraris on the outside. And now they've got some of those too.
That's what they're doing.
There's a reason too. They're not reinventing the wheel for sure. NFC division winners, Mel.
Mm-hmm. Look at the 49ers and the Eagles. I really like Sidney Jones. Derek Barnett, if he can become Terrell Suggs, they did a real good job. But I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. I just think it's more than Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. Joe Williams, running back out of Utah, came back, had a heck of a year for the Utes. Granted, they had some offensive linemen drafted, but this kid has ability. And Thomas is a dominator and a great attitude, great approach. That's what John Lynch wanted. That's what he got. Reuben Foster's all about football, and he will be a great leader of that defense. You got 2 young, big-time players on that side of the ball. George Kittle, underrated guy. I think he'll help their offense as an H-back move tight end. So the 49ers, slight edge over the Eagles.
What about the other one?
Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers to me. I look at that team right now.
Waste their time, please.
They're on the rise, obviously, and they did a lot of things. Not beyond O.J. Howard. Chris Godwin just didn't have one good game. He had a pretty good year. Quarterback gets him the ball. He was fine. I think he can improve and keep developing on what we saw. And Justin Evans, an underrated safety out of Texas A&M. There's Jeremy McNichols, a running back they got in the 5th round. Doug Martin, obviously, missing 4 games. I'll tell you what, this is a team that from the start with O.J. Howard, with how he dropped to where they're picking is beyond me. But how Jeremy McNichols dropped to the 5th round is because running backs always drop 2 rounds further than they should. The kid was a former receiver who can catch the ball. If the ball security is not an issue with McNichols, he could be one of the top offensive rookies.
So that brings us to 4, and certainly some usual suspects, Ryan Clark, including the New England Patriots.
Well, you know what? I'm excited that the Steelers are there, but the New England Patriots as a total offseason is what's impressed me. It's not just about the way they draft or the way they move around. It was amazing to see a team continue to acquire quality talent in the smart, intelligent way and continue to grow as a team when you're already the Super Bowl champions.
All right, coming up, we will crown a winner. We're down to 4. We're working our way to 1 to see who bested the weekend, and also our not-so-irrelevant draft picks, if you will, under-the-radar players we think will make a difference when we come back.
Papa John's Double Play, 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for only $6.99 each.
A deal so big it needs a replay.
Double better ingredients means double better pizza.
Papa John's Double Play, 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for $6.99 each.
Papa John's.
Heineken tastes perfect every single time, and that doesn't happen by accident. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster, almost as long as it took me to master this look.
She came to meet a man. She found an angel. What's his name now?
Still practicing. It takes 15 years to become a Heineken brewmaster. There's more behind the star.
Mom, good. Got your attention. Did you know Capri Sun doesn't have all that artificial stuff you think it has?
Get those kids some Capri Sun.
At Lincoln, we're all about making things simpler for you. Like imagine having your vehicle serviced from the comfort of your own home. Introducing complimentary Lincoln pickup and delivery servicing. Because the most important luxury of all is time. Pickup and delivery servicing on the entire family of Lincoln luxury vehicles, including a complimentary Lincoln loaner.
Papa John's Double Play, 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for only $6.99 each.
A deal so big it needs a replay.
Double better ingredients means double better pizza.
Papa John's Double Play, 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for $6.99 each.
This is an awesome deal. Being a guardian of the galaxy would be awesome. I fainted.
Sure did. Yeah, you did.
Upgrade your DQ $5 lunch to any small blizzard for just $1. See the film May 5th.
At the General, it's easy to get an online car insurance quote with your mobile phone.
Or on your tablet or computer in minutes. Just go to thegeneral.com. Monthly payments are low, and you can get immediate proof of insurance.
Get your anonymous online quote with low payments and ride with the General. Cut. General, selfie time. Smile, General.
Sure. For a great low rate you can get online, go to the General and save some time.
This is an awesome deal. Being a guardian of the galaxy would be awesome. I fainted.
Sure did. Yeah, you did.
Upgrade your DQ $5 lunch to any small blizzard for just $1. See the film May 5th.
NFL Live is presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. Federally insured by NCUA.
We call it The Six with Michael Smith and Jamel Hill. Sports, music, movies, and more. Style and personality. Join them weeknights at 6 p.m. Eastern for SportsCenter on ESPN. Also streaming live on the ESPN apps.
And we continue now with our draft bracket, or if you want to get cute, the dracket. We've got our final 4. It's the Patriots and Steelers as we look to crown a winner in the AFC, the 49ers and Bucks in the NFC. But first things first, Todd, take us through the final 2 in the AFC.
The final 2 in the AFC, Patriots and Steelers, and I went with the Patriots. Again, same reasons as we talked about because of how they used their picks, and everyone's saying, well, they didn't even pick till the 3rd round. They only had 4 picks. Yeah, but look at what they did with all the veterans that we've mentioned 5 times in the show already, starting with this guy, Brandon Cooks, a vertical weapon for Tom Brady.
All right, Mel, we'll talk. We're going to get to 1. We're working our way to 1. But first, the 49ers and the Bucks in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the 49ers. John Lynch did a great job, and I think you look at Thomas, and certainly you look at Foster, but I think you look at C.J. Beathard in the 3rd round. His grandfather, Bobby Beathard, great bloodlines there. He's a 3rd-round pick. What can he do? Obviously, Solomon Thomas is going to be a dominator up front. You know that. They drafted 2 defensive linemen the last couple of years, and I really think that when you get down to it 3 years down the road, you have Poyer, you have Barkley. Where is C.J. Beathard? They seem to have a pretty high opinion when the former Iowa Hawkeye quarterback, playing for Kirk Ferentz at a really high level. You know he knows football. He's got that football savvy, been around it his whole life. What can he do as a quarterback? Can he be the overlooked quarterback that nobody even discussed that turns out to be pretty good?
An established program, a franchise that knows how to win, and then a first-year GM. So those are our final two tied. Patriots and 49ers, if you put them head-to-head, whose draft do you prefer?
I'm going Patriots. I got yelled at. The producer didn't want me to do this. Herm Edwards strong-armed me yesterday and told me I couldn't talk about it because it wasn't draft picks. It's not college guys.
It's the draft process.
Find me someone better than what the Patriots did. I just can't. I don't see it. But the fact that the 49ers are sitting there with John Lynch in his first draft, pretty amazing what he did.
Do you agree? We're tied in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a tough call.
He hates to do that.
He knows that. But I think when you look at utilizing the draft as a process to get your team better, they did.
I mean, it was. It's kind of tough because it's the
does it matter
the
that
dracket, not the off racket. Like it's tough. You know what I'm saying?
He's been holding that one for Does it matter to you that there were 4 picks, Lewis?
No, it doesn't. I understand how you're factoring in Brandon Cooks here, but I think what you like about New England is the fact that the types of players that they pick really speak to just how much they know what they need. Look, Derek Rivers is a multi-positional player. Mm-hmm. That can play with his hand down and play in a 2-point. Who does a better job at using hybrid players like that than New England Patriots? When you draft guys like Antonio Garcia and Connor McDermott, you go, okay, well, who are those guys? Troy, UCLA, just average players. Look at the Patriots' offensive line, and they have the ultimate equalizer. They have Dante Scarnecchia. Yes. That's how they do things there. They don't get the players that everyone knows. They get the players that they know, that they like, and they develop them, which to me is really what makes the draft productive or not productive anyway. It's not about what we're talking about right now. It's not about the college hype anymore. It's about knowing your football team and then developing them, and no one does it better than them.
The other aspect of it is this, about getting guys, because it is about the process that are good players, and then we've seen it before where they get to New England and they become really good or great players. I mean, Dwayne Allen in Indianapolis, sometimes you forgot about him, He's going to go to New England, and whether it's a Gronkowski injury or just the fact that he's playing opposite of him, you're going to see massive production out of Dwayne Allen. You will. And then Brandon Cooks, even though he played with a good quarterback in New Orleans, you're going to see him in a role that maybe you never saw him play in before.
There's going to be a lot of players that we like in this draft that are going to go to places, and somehow it's just not going to work because they're not going to fit. The chances are the players that New England takes, they're going to fit, because how many times have they taken players that everyone else says, that's ridiculous, why would you sign that guy? And next thing you know, you're going, oh, wow, that's a really good
draft. Dietrich Wise, their 4th-round pick out of Arkansas, looked like a 1st or 2nd rounder going into the year.
Brandon Cooks, 23 years old. 23, so he's as young as some of these draft picks, basically.
And I think the word you used, process. That's what stands out in New England, because it's the process that's in place every single year, Susie.
And we'll wrap with this segue, because in New England, no one is irrelevant. So we'll finish up with the non-irrelevant players, and this should really be a nod to what the Broncos did at pick number 253, because you couldn't have a more non-irrelevant than Chad Kelly, the quarterback from Ole Miss, right? But who would be your kind of under-the-radar, non-irrelevant?
Right there, Susie, Alvin Kamara. I think Sean Payton and the Saints will use him in the joker role. He'll be a 3rd-down player. He'll be the kind of player that C.J. Spiller, they had hoped to be at one point, and I think this guy can be that in this offense.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Malik McDowell, who the Seahawks picked up in the 2nd round. Look, this is a football team, and our stats and research department fed me this information during the draft. And that's the fact that of the 42 sacks that the Seahawks had last year, only 7 of them came from players lined up at D-tackle. Malik McDowell will increase that total, and out there in that system, he should rip it up as long as he buys into what they're doing.
I'm going to go Kareem Hunt for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 3rd round, a downhill runner. He's going to help Alex Smith, and he'll help Patrick Mahomes down the road. This kid can play, very underrated, very versatile kid out of Toledo. Heck of a player with the Rockets.
Carson Wentz gets another weapon. I thought this was one of the more underrated players in the draft coming out of North Carolina. 6'4", 221 pounds. He was the 118th pick. You can't tell me there are 117 better players than him. He had some durability issues, but comes in with a chip on his shoulder, former walk-on. A quarter of his catches went for touchdowns, and he had 20 special teams tackles. This guy is an absolute special teams maven covering kicks and punts.
That's a Jim Cramer pick.
I'm going with James Conner, and not because he's the feel-good story of the draft, but because he can run the football. This guy was the ACC Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year 2 years ago, and we've seen Le'Veon Bell miss games, and we've seen DeAngelo Williams spell that spot. He's going to be huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year in the running game.
Mel alluded to it earlier. How about C.J. Beathard as maybe the forgotten quarterback in this class? Think about Kyle Shanahan having success with guys like Matt Schaub, Brian Brian Hoyer and Kirk Cousins. I think he fits what they want to do offensively, has a chance to develop him. Oftentimes it's about playing the position, not about the most physical tools.
I'm going to go with undrafted rookie free agent wide receiver Trey Griffey, son of Hall of Famer Ken Griffey.
Bloodlines. Design is one great balancing act.
We balance expectations
with perception,
Desire for familiarity,
with demand for innovation,
sheer exhilaration,
with unmatched comfort.
All balanced on one thing.
You. Introducing the Genesis G80.
Get half off exactly what you want with Pizza Hut's 50% off pizza deal. That's 50% off your favorites like hand-tossed pepperoni, meat lovers, or even Original Fan Supreme. That's right, get 50% off any menu price pizzas when you order online. But hurry, this deal ends soon. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. No need to hurry. No slipping, no sliding, no bumping.
The Corona can always finds its beach.
Tired of paying hundreds more a year in taxes and fees on your wireless bill? Only T-Mobile One gives you unlimited data with taxes and fees included. That'll save you hundreds. Get 2 lines of unlimited data for $100. That's right, 2 lines, $100 all in. And now the brand new Samsung Galaxy S8 is here. So what are you waiting for? Get the new Galaxy S8. Plus get 2 lines of unlimited data for $100. Taxes and fees included. Only at T-Mobile.
80% of recurrent ischemic strokes could be prevented with the right steps.
And take it from me, every step counts.
A Bayer aspirin regimen is one of those steps in helping prevent another stroke. Be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen.
She makes the good times great and the tough times easier. The Ever Us collection. 1 diamond for your best friend, 1 diamond for your true love. Now in white and rose gold for Mother's Day. Ever Us. Available at Zales, Jared, and Kay.
It's about time they gave Left and Right Twix their own packs. They got about as much in common as you a mortician and me an undertaker.
Or you a janitor and me a custodian.
Or you a ghost and me a spirit.
New Left and Right Twix packs. It's time to decide.
Some moments are worth the journey. We'll help get the most out of every mile. Chase down your passion. Never halfway. Hankook Tire.
Nature made it delicious. We made it a snack. Chobani Flip.
Hello and welcome into this SportsCenter special, Draft Grades.
Big year for the University of Michigan. Not only did they spend the final week of April in Rome, they had 11 players drafted, more than any other school.
Think about the awesome Philadelphia hosting the draft. How about the SEC, how awesome they are. 11th straight year they led conferences in draft pick. 53 SEC players selected.
For the first time in NFL draft history, 3 teams move up in the first round to go get quarterbacks, Coach.
Well, listen here. Mel and Todd, all this good stuff and this information, it's all about to start right now. We got to go.
Good evening, and welcome to the NFL Draft. Come on, Philly, come on. There you go. With the first pick, the Cleveland Browns select Myles Garrett.
The 2 teams have been talking about this deal all afternoon. The 49ers wanted to move back. The Bears come up to number 2.
With the second pick, the Chicago Bears select Mitchell Trubisky.
Things just got interesting.
Oh my God, no!
There was no call. I didn't even think I was going to get picked until the commissioner said my name.
There's been a trade. Kansas City is now on the clock at 10.
Kansas City Chiefs select Patrick Mahomes, the second.
There has been a trade.
I would love to see my man, Deshaun Watson, end up in Houston.
The Houston Texans select Deshaun Watson.
I was telling myself not to cry, but I couldn't hold it back.
With the 48th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Mixon, running back, Oklahoma.
Sports Center Special, presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. Draft grades.
An action-packed 2 hours begins right now. I am Field Yates alongside Dan Graziano. The coach, Herm Edwards, drafted 9 Pro Bowlers in his 8 years as a head coach. And our draft gurus, you know them already, Todd McShay and Mel Kiper Jr., who finished his 34th NFL draft this year. A lot to get to. That's it. Only 34, Mel.
Very nice, Mel.
Long way to go. Plenty to get to, of course. But let's start with the glass half full. So I'm going to go around ask each one of you, beginning with Mel, which one pick is in the best position to succeed right away?
It's Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. You think about the job he can do for a quarterback like Cam Newton coming off an injury. So versatile. You talk about dynamic presence in the backfield because he can run the football so effectively. You see him here doing exactly that. And you can put him in a slot, put him out wide. You can put him obviously as your main punt returner, your primary kick returner. His versatility and how electric he is and how ready he is for the NFL is what makes him the best pick in my opinion.
And matchup pieces, offensive weapons. I'll go to the New York Giants. I love their pick of Evan Ingram. This is a guy that ran a 4.42 40-yard dash and can get vertical. Eli Manning needs weapons, and you look at the tight end group for the Giants, averaged an NFL low 7.7 yards per catch last season. This guy is a player that can get vertical, stretch it, and create after the catch.
Everyone was worried about Jabril Peppers, where he was going to land, where is he going to play. He goes to a great spot in Cleveland with Greg Williams. Why? Because he's the type of coordinator who will have a fit for this guy in his defense. He'll play somewhere in the middle of this defense, whether it's a nickelback, sometime a safety position. This guy is a big play football player, and he's going to the right coach in Greg Williams.
We all know what happened with the running back that was picked 4th overall last year. I don't think that Leonard Fournette is Ezekiel Elliott or will succeed to his level, but he's in a strong position to succeed in his first year in Jacksonville. Yes, they have TJ Yeldon, their second-round pick from 2 years ago, but they're under new management there. Doug Marrone and Tom Coughlin will want to run the ball with this young man.
The offensive overhaul in Jacksonville is underway, but let's go to the other side of the coin, Mel. How about a player, most questionable move in your eyes in this draft?
I think if you look at Deshaun Kaiser out of Notre Dame, he's so not ready for the NFL right now. He struggled at Notre Dame. They need a quarterback that I think they can develop, so that's no issue. Develop him 2-3 years, but how good can he be down the road with questionable decision-making, not being accurate throwing the football? So I think Deshaun Kaiser, while he is that developmental quarterback, I don't know how much of that physical and athletic ability will shine forth when he tries to develop into an effective starting quarterback.
I scratched my head a little bit when Cincinnati took John Ross at number 9. Listen, I think he can be an explosive weapon, and certainly another weapon there for Andy Dalton, but when you're at 9 overall and you take a guy that has shoulder and knee injuries in his history over some other players at probably bigger positions of need like Hassan Reddick and Derek Barnett, just a little questionable.
This was a head-scratcher, Mitch Trubisky, and this is why. It's not the kid's fault that he got drafted, the second player in the draft. But here's the problem. Now the pressure comes on him. Just in case Mike Glennon goes down, guess what? He has to play. He went to a basketball game in Chicago, and the fans are already booing the poor kid. It's not his fault, but he has a lot of pressure on him if he has to play this year.
Yeah, not to pick on the Bengals, but the second-round pick of Joe Mixon, obviously an incredible player, an incredible talent, but he comes with a level of off-field baggage that no one else in this draft did because of that video of him punching the female student 3 years ago. The Bengals made a pick that could help them win games, but may, in the meantime, turn off a large segment of their fan base who may not want to root for a guy who has this attached to him.
Perhaps the story of the weekend was Joe Mixon. We call this show Sports Center Special NFL Draft Grades, and we're going to go division by division and hand them all out. I know, Todd, you love this exercise. One of your favorites, of course.
I won't do it.
We're going to start
best
right
picks.
now. Best picks. That works for me. We're starting the AFC North and start with a team that had the very first selection. Todd, what do you make of Myles Garrett?
Well, I think when you look at Myles Garrett, obviously he's the signature pick. And you think what he can do field down the road. I mean, he should be a dynamic pass rusher. He's got all the talent in the world. His skill set, his athletic prowess, his dominant characteristics that he showed getting after the quarterback were evident. Yes, he needs to turn up a notch once he's in the NFL, but less plays will help him. He was number 1 for a reason. This kid can be a prolific pass rusher.
How about you, Todd? The actual Todd on John Ross.
John, I just talked about it was questionable, but let's focus on what he can do. Explosive off the line, elite speed, fastest player we've ever seen in 40-yard dash at the combine. Can get vertical and also can create after the catch. It is a very nice weapon to have for an offense that's looking for a little more big play element.
Marlon Humphrey's obviously a corner, and you think about the Ravens, this is Mel's team. They needed a corner with instincts and has some length to him. He has all that. Plays with great eyes and anticipation. This is a nice fit for the Baltimore Ravens.
The Pittsburgh Steelers took T.J. Watt, a name that sounds familiar because his brother has made a pretty good impression in the league so far, J.J. Watt in Houston. T.J. Watt, interesting pick, high upside. You love the pedigree, obviously. I wonder if he's a fit. I wonder how much time he needs to develop into that pass rush role in that Steelers defense. We'll see how quickly he comes and how great a player he blossoms into there in Pittsburgh.
Those are the first players that each team selected. All of them came in round one. But let's get to the grades, Mel. Let's see your AFC North grade and how it all played out.
Well, it played out well, I think, for most of the teams in the AFC North. Think about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the way they started off, getting a Steeler kind of player, a pass rusher in T.J. Watt. And then, obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster and what he can do catching the football for Ben Roethlisberger. Gave him a B-plus grade. The Ravens, I would have gone O.J. Howard over Marlon Humphrey or Reuben Foster over Marlon Humphrey, but I know why they needed a cornerback so desperately. You know that. Jimmy Smith's had injury issues. Tyus Bowser and Tim Williams, two pass rushers, helped them get that B grade. Myles Garrett certainly started off great. Yeah, I think about quarterback Deshaun Kaiser in the second round. Question that. Some of the other picks, I think, will help their team improve their personnel base. And you think about the Cincinnati Bengals, some gambles early, as Todd mentioned, with John Ross. I do like Jordan Willis. And down the line, I think you're going to see some production from their late-round picks. I think Carl Lawson, if he can stay healthy, could be a really good pick in round 4 for the Bengals.
So let's get started and look at the best picks in this division with the Bengals. I thought their best pick was Carl Lawson, the defensive end. Where they got him, the value. They needed a pass rusher. We knew that at some point they were going to get a pass rusher. I don't think Lawson's going to be a full-time player, but he's a guy as a fourth-round draft pick. And if he can stay healthy, he's got a chance to have the impact of a second-round pick. This guy's explosive off the edge. Now, the Cleveland Browns, you see there, David Njoku. What a great value they got for him at 29 overall. Didn't think he was going to be there. 4.59 speed, 40-inch vertical. He can be a vertical weapon at that tight end position that the Browns have been missing. Tyus Bowser in the second round for the Ravens. I like what the Ravens did in their defensive front seven. They needed to upgrade that group, and Bowser's the best pick of all of them. Love him as a pass rusher. He also can do a little bit of dropping into coverage if you need it. And then finally, how do you get better value than Josh Dobbs out of Tennessee in the 4th round? I thought this was one of the best value picks in the draft. Potentially, you found your replacement for Ben Roethlisberger, and it gives you probably some quality time to develop him the right way. I think Josh Dobbs made an awful lot of sense where they got him. I never expected Dobbs to be on the board in round 4.
The Steelers really ran away with that division last year, winning it by 3 games. But Herm, who has improved the most in the AFC North so far this offseason?
Well, right now in the offseason, with the draft as well as free agency, the Baltimore Ravens, what they've been able to do. And you think about this team, they were 4-2 in the division, so it's not like they can't compete in the division. It ended up being 8-8. A lot of that due to injuries. Defensively, and we know it, they are built to play really good defense to help that offense. They went out and got some corners, for instance. They go get Carr. We understood that. They get Jeffries. Then they draft Humphrey. So what they've done now, they're starting to build some youth into that defense. The offense will come along. We know that. But this is a defensive division, and the team that can play great defense generally wins.
And you talk about the Steelers winning by 3 games. The Ravens were right in it. I mean,
yes.
there was a game, I believe, on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day that they lost to Pittsburgh. The division could have gone the other way. Cincinnati, a down year, but coming off 5 straight playoff appearances. This is a very tough division, and I think Baltimore got a lot better on defense. Yes. I'm still curious what they're doing on the offensive line and at wide receiver. And I think Pittsburgh and maybe Cincinnati I would favor as another 2-team race there, with Baltimore possibly getting in if they figured things out on offense.
You said it, Dan, the Bengals, a down year. But they had a lot of good years with Marvin Lewis. And you think about where they can be because of this draft. If the ifs become good picks, John Ross stays healthy. That's a good player. That's a speed merchant. You talk about Marvin Jones moving on last year, Mohamed Sanu moving on. All the injuries they had affected that offense big time. Joe Mixon is an excellent receiver out of the backfield, real good kickoff returner, an explosive runner. He will help. Now, I think the under-the-radar pick for me is a guy who could be, hopefully for them, the next Memphis Tiger to be a real good kicker, and that's Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott needs to fill a hole there. That's a big void. That's a big problematic area, has been for the Bengals for the last few years. If he's as good as Stephen Gostkowski, who came out of Memphis, or even close to being as good as a former Memphis Tiger as he is, then they're in good shape.
I think Pittsburgh, when you look at it, yeah, they lost some bigger names. Marcus Wheaton, they lost Jarvis Jones, Lawrence Timmons on the defensive side. But those were guys that weren't performing to the level. And I think now you bring in a T.J. Watt, someone who can provide some edge rushing ability. I love the second-round pick of Juju Smith-Schuster. It won't surprise me if he's one of the leading receivers from this rookie class. And then Cam Sutton is an underrated corner. So I like some of the young talent that they brought in to replace some aging players that just weren't producing to the level they needed to.
If nothing else, Juju Smith-Schuster had one of the best reactions to being drafted, jumping into the ocean, which is what exactly I would do if I were ever drafted in the NFL as well. Now, coming up next, we previewed the NFC North, where the Bears stunned so many, moving up just one pick to draft their hopeful quarterback of the future. Can anyone take over the Green Bay Packers in 2017?
This Sports Center special is presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA, and in part by Audi, and Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
Looking good, Mr. Slow Motion Walking DXL Shopping Fashion Stud. Looking good. All the brands you love, waist size 38 and up. DXL. You're looking good.